Hello and welcome to Poker Night Live. I'm Kara Scott, and with me tonight is Nick Wealthall, and he is your expert for the evening. We're going to be taking you through how to play winning online Texas Hold'em in all of its varieties. We've got cash games, MTT, and we've got sit and goes.
It sounds brilliant.
Doesn't it? As a premise, it's very good.
Let's see if we can muck it up. No, I mean do it brilliantly.
We're going to give it a solid go. For the next 4 hours,
yes.
We're going to be here taking you through all of the poker on the TV that you're going to be seeing. It's going to be done live. Now that's as live. It's actually got a slight delay on it because obviously we need to see everyone's cards so that we can commentate on it properly, or so that you can commentate on it properly. And it wouldn't be fair if everyone could see each other's cards. It just wouldn't be Texas Hold'em. Let's be honest, it wouldn't really be poker, it would be a bit pointless. So we do act on a bit of a, sort of a 5-minute delay, that sort of thing, so that everyone, can't cheat. Not that people would, not casting aspersions.
I love this show.
Do you?
Yeah. I think it's brilliant.
I do too. I like the poker bits. They're my
Not so much
favourite.
this bit. No.
They're my
That's
favourite.
fair. No, that is fair.
And you know what else I love? I love it when people email in.
We love that.
Shameless begging. Text and emails. And here we go. This is how you get in touch with us here in the show. Text the word poker and your question to 84222.
If they don't, we have to talk to each other.
I know. And we've done that to death, haven't we? We really have.
Yes, we have.
You can email us, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Send us your questions. And send us your comments as well and anything that's going to be happening. And check out the website. Lots to learn on that, pokernightlive.co.uk.
There you go.
There you go.
I want to do something a little bit special and exciting tonight.
You were saying.
Even more than my purple shirt.
That is exciting.
It's quite exciting, isn't it? Yeah, it's all about Christianity. They have purple in them. I thought we'd do a bit of a poker clinic.
Did you?
Yes.
The doctor is in.
The doctor is in. I mean, this is kind of what happens on the show anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what I thought was, and it takes a big man to admit this, and a big lady, so any of you out there, what is really giving you a problem in poker at the moment? That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
What are you bad at? What do you not get? What doesn't work for you? What have you tried to do and it hasn't happened? Do not want bad beat stories from you people.
Yeah,
that's
no
not
long
what
bad
this
beat
is.
stories.
It's in general.
Yeah.
You know, I can't play sit and goes.
That's quite general.
I don't know what to do with top pair on the flop.
That's more specific.
More specific. But just what are you really struggling with, guys? And we'll get through as many as we can.
Yeah.
And see if we can kind of lance the boils on the face of your poker. You know what I'm saying?
That's just a nasty image, but thank you for that. And but you are correct, and everyone does have blind spots, no matter what level you're playing
We're
at.
going to weed the garden.
Now you're mixing your metaphors.
No, I've found a better one. We're going to weed your poker garden so that by the end of the evening it flourishes.
So it's a gardening show now.
It's a garden of poker.
It's the garden of poker. It's a beautiful, beautiful
Think of
thing.
me as the radish.
Shall we see what sort of rows we're going to hoe tonight? Shall we take us around the table?
Yes, let's look at the hose. Sorry, tables. Confused myself there for a second.
Did you then? Oh my goodness, what is that?
Do you like it?
I've never seen that before.
This is the night in the sight with the little chairs, Kara, which
lovely.
causes tremendous excitement in the poker garden. I am serious about this, by the way. I want people to email in, and I'll share mine.
Good.
And you share yours.
And I'll try to
we'll
think
all
up
cure
more
our ills together.
gardening metaphors.
Yeah. Poker Night Live, guys. What I want to know is, in this bit of the show, if I don't say what this is, does it stay up forever? No. No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Thank goodness for that.
This one, I'm told, is a $20 sit and go. All of these people have paid $20 to play poker. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Happens across the planet, Kara.
Really?
People
Every
are
night?
really going for it in a big way.
Wow.
Might come back to that. It's quite an interesting tournament, the long structure. And this is a cash game, 25-cent, 50-cent cash game.
Johan Hare in there. I'm hoping I don't get up against him in a multi-table or sit and go
Don't
today.
be afraid, Kara.
Don't be afraid.
I have the chaffinch.
Yes.
Remember what Johnny Chan said? Once you're scared of somebody, you're stuffed.
Yes,
He
it's
didn't use the
true.
word stuffed. And that's another tournament, I expect. It really is, yes, I was right.
It's our MTT, that one is. And so there you go. We do actually have the full range of Texas Hold'em for you here tonight. How very exciting.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It is brilliant. And we are in our poker garden. And we are ready to take your questions.
Pulling out the weeds. The doctor is in.
No, don't mix the metaphors.
The gardening doctor of poker is in.
The tree doctor is in.
I saw something brilliant the other day. I shouldn't publicise this because A, it's another internet company.
Oh no.
Which I'm not going to mention the name of, and B, it's giving publicity to something that's awful. But on the back of a poker magazine this month, there's an advert for, can't remember what it's called, but what they've done is they've signed up Shane Warne. You know who Shane Warne is?
No.
He's a cricketer.
Okay.
Do you know what cricket is?
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. See that? The gardener is chastised.
Yeah.
I'm not even a very good gardener. One of my plants committed suicide once. So they've signed up Shane Warne and they've gone play poker against the world's greatest spin bowler. I swear to Jesus, it's true.
That's bizarre.
It's absolutely bizarre. It's like this is, when poker has now got to the end of its, we can't, there are no more ideas, so let's start doing random. Play poker against hats. Play poker against Jimmy Savile. It's coming, seriously.
It probably is coming, actually.
Sorry about that random interjection. You probably want to
okay.
do the show, yeah?
My favourite bits, the poker bits.
Yeah.
Wow, no, I like your random bits as well, I have to say.
Thanks,
No, shall we go take a look at a game? What should we look at first?
Well, I want to look at that tournament, that long structure one.
Do you?
If they've got that. That'll look quite interesting.
Hey. All the way through the matrix, and we found it. Look at that. Noisy seagull. I believe he's living on my roof at the moment, waking me up at 4 in the morning.
Well, that's a call of love, Kara. He's saying, Kara.
Well, he needs to get off my
I'm the
roof.
noisy seagull.
He's driving me crazy, and I can't sleep.
So what I want is
Uh-huh.
the things that people can't do well at poker, the things that they're struggling with.
They're blind spots.
They're blind spots.
Problem areas.
And this is relative, guys. This is like, if you're a decent player, if you've been playing for a year or so, and you feel like you're doing things pretty well. I'm not looking about things that you're bad at, because obviously after playing for a year, you'll be decent at most things. I'm talking about things you don't do as well as others, or things that are frustrations for you. I have several. For example, one of them is sit and goes. I do not consider myself a particularly strong sit and go player compared to other forms of poker. I'm good enough to win money at sit and goes, but not in the same way that I can at other forms of poker.
Right.
I could talk about why that is, but it's not my show. My idea is, let's have the guys, let's have the viewers, you out there, tell us your blind spots, and we will do the thing with the weeds.
Weed them.
I think I've made that clear.
I think you might have made that clear.
Poker at pokernightlive.co.uk for all your gardening questions.
Yes. When should you
For all your poker questions.
turn over the soil of the fertile poker
Have you ever
mind?
gardened? Have you ever had a garden?
I have, yes. In Canada, I had a lovely, massive vegetable garden and grew all sorts of things.
Really?
Yeah. My pumpkins were amazing.
So I've heard. I just swear to God, a plant committed suicide on me once.
That's quite
I came
sad.
home from work when I used to have a job, and it was smashed on the pathway in front of my house.
Oh.
It literally jumped from the windowsill.
That's terrible.
That's how abusive I was to it.
They say that it helps if you talk to them. Did you talk to it? Because that might have been the problem.
Yeah, probably shouldn't have shouted at it quite so much.
Yeah. You're telling it poker stories. Interminably long ones.
Right. We've got 4 hours of that. Don't.
It's my favourite bit.
Yes. Speaking of which, there's a game going on.
Yes, there is.
The
I
nation,
like the
the
new
nation
table.
cried. This is a $20 sit and go, and we've lost one man already. Might have been a lady, might have been a seagull or chaffinch. We don't know. The blinds are 20 and 40. And this is the longer structure that we show. Those of you that are new to the show, you don't know what's going on. Good luck. No, sorry. This is a poker tournament held between these 8 people. So it's just the people around this table that are competing. There are other poker tournaments where there are many tables, but this is a single table. And basically they're playing last man standing, in effect. One player will end up with all of the chips when all's said and done.
And how many do they start with in this structure?
They start with 2,000, Kara.
I see, I see.
And when those are gone, so are they. That's it, you're out of the tournament. no extra chips to be found from anywhere. And the top 3 finishers will share out the prize pool, which is made up from the buy-ins of $20 each per man. So first place is 50% of that. $80.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Worked that out myself.
Well done. I do hope you're correct.
No way of proving it one way or the other, is there?
Oh no, because that's complicated math. That.
Impossible. Viewers will take it on faith.
As everything we say. Now, you are correct that this is a single table tournament. So that's one of the big differences, is that once your chips are gone, your tournament life is gone, there are no second chances. So if you go all in, you're very likely to be out of the tournament if you do that quite a lot in the beginning. And the blinds do go up every, what, in this?
I think 12 hands.
Every 12 hands, okay.
So the other tournaments that we show is every 10 hands.
When
you play Beat the Presenter later,
yeah,
you should try and get one of these. You haven't played one of these, have you?
I think I did last time, didn't I?
Oh, did you?
No, I didn't
Not
actually.
with me.
No, you're right. No, you're right. Actually, the first time I did play one of these, I believe I won it.
The cream comes to the top.
It was an excellent game, and I enjoyed it very much.
Well, it should be the case that the longer the structure, the more advantage the better player should have.
Hopefully, yeah, because one of my, if we're talking about this being sort of a clinic, a garden clinic type of thing,
yes,
my problem would be I often find myself in sit and goes towards the middle to the end of the game.
This is either a bold play or a suicidal one from Stan the Man.
Oh,
well,
what were you thinking?
He was thinking he could get 10 Bob Billy to fold, but
he had a straight.
Well, he took a big risk to make a move like that so early. Now, maybe he had good reasons for that, but it hasn't worked out.
Oh, he didn't even have a straight. 5, 6, 7, 8. Got a pair of 8s. Ah.
A pair of 8s. But Stan the Man was getting, resistance from 10 Bob Billy all through the hand, so he knew he had something, so it was a big risk.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're saying?
Sorry, yeah.
One of your weeds in your garden.
One of the weeds in my garden is that usually in a sit and go with a regular structure, towards the middle to end of the game, I find myself short stacked.
Yes.
So there you go. Doctor, what should I do?
Oh, I'm going to enjoy this. Full house for Charwell, delighted. He's desperately hoping that Wayne Wallace has a club, any club, and then he can get paid on this full house. Sadly for him, Wayne Wallace doesn't. Well, when you're playing fast sit-and-go structures, if you're playing a solid style of poker, which is a reasonably correct thing to do, a reasonable amount of the ones that you play, you will be short chip stacked, because you'll be waiting for good hands. They won't come.
That's my problem.
The blinds will go up,
my problem.
and other people will build their chip stacks. Now, the answer to the problem is we need to know whether or not it's a problem.
Right.
Because it could be that you're short stacked and you're waiting too long to make a move, and you're getting yourself into a position where you've got 2 or 3 big blinds. If so, it is a problem. If you're just short stacked compared to other people, but you've still got 6 or 7 big blinds, you're probably not doing too much wrong.
Really?
You're probably just having a tournament where you're not catching any cards.
But that does seem to happen quite a bit to me.
Or you're playing in sit and goes that are too fast for your style.
Right.
So then you have 2 options. You can either play in slower tournaments, which will suit your style better, or change your style. Now, changing your style will be the harder of the 2 options.
I would think so, yeah. I don't think I'm quite ready to branch out into fancy playing of any sort, because fancy play. I'm still too much of a novice, I think. It's
probably not as much of a problem as you think.
Yeah.
Being short stack, because like I said, it depends on the level of the shortness of your stack.
Yeah, well, no, it usually is about.
Is it Casper Berry short, or is it that one in Austin Powers short? Because Casper Berry short, you can get by. You're not doing anything wrong. That one in Austin Powers short, he was tiny. Oh, I've completely confused myself. What a flop for Noisy Seagull. That'll get me out of this conversational heck hole. What I was saying was, it depends on, because if you've got 6 or 7 times the big blind, if you're getting down to that sort of level of short stack, if you then start moving in and you steal the blinds a couple of times, you won't be short stacked. If you get called when you move in and you win that hand, suddenly you'll have 12, 14 times the big blind, and it's not a problem, and your situation has completely changed in one hand.
Okay.
So it's very hard without knowing the context of the tournament which you're talking about, but it may not be what I'm saying is it may not be as big an issue as you think.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah.
At which point do I... You sound so excited about that. Yeah. Next question. At which point do I shift gears? Am I looking at the number of players left in the game? Am I looking at my chip stack, or am I looking at the blinds?
Your chip stack and the blinds are kind
in
of
relation to
the same thing, because you're looking in relation. That would normally be the most important thing, but you need to make some allowances for the players and the type of game you're in as well.
Right.
For example, if the game you're in is very tight early on, why not try making a few steals? I know you don't want to do fancy plays, but why not try a few? If they don't work, they don't work, but it's not going to cost you a place in the tournament if it's early on.
Yeah.
The thing is, in poker, you should always be trying to, sounds incredibly obvious, but you should be always trying to make chips. You shouldn't be saying, you know, it's like anything in life. The more we can think like this in life, the better our results are, which is, what's my outcome here? And sometimes people that are just learning the game get into a mode of, I have to do this now. I have tens, I have to do this with my pocket tens. And they get into that kind of mode. And what we're trying to do is get people out of that as soon as possible and get them into a thinking, what am I trying to achieve?
Right.
What you're trying to achieve is you're trying to do 2 things, survive in the tournament and build chips.
Yeah.
Now, if there is an opportunity early in the tournament to build chips without putting your place in the tournament at risk, so by making small raises, then you should, of course, take that opportunity.
Okay.
So if it's tight on the Beat the Presenter table tonight, then...
Oh, I'm sure it won't be. It always is.
It always is. You could try a couple of raises to steal the blinds. Get called by one person, bet out on the flop. You will probably win the pot most of the time. If those moves go wrong early on, and given that we've talked about it on TV now, they
probably
will.
not such a great strategy.
Well, no, because it helps you if you have a real hand.
Right.
People may call you.
That's the thing. I usually only ever do that when I have a real hand. And I think that's why I'm ending up short stacked.
If you want to try... I mean, the thing... I wrote a post on the forums, and I hope, Ram Chip, if you're watching tonight, I hope you email in as promised, because it's an interesting tournament discussion topic.
There certainly is, yeah.
Which said you mustn't be afraid to experiment when you play poker.
Right.
And I think you are guilty of this, and I think lots of beginners are, which is being too worried about getting knocked out, being too worried about losing. Now, this doesn't mean go crazy, but what I mean is the only way you'll become better is if you try different things.
And see what works.
And see what works and learn. If you just try and do the same thing constantly, you'll become a very one-dimensional player.
I think I do have that danger. Yeah, that sounds very much like me, I think.
Well,
a bit one-dimensional.
It's difficult, Kara, because it's a balance, because you've got a balance between getting the fundamentals right, but also learning how to be a good poker player as well.
So I'm a good solid potato, but I'm looking to be a purple flowering cabbage.
I want you to be a field of lilies.
Oh, bless.
But you're not.
No, not yet. I'm afraid I'm not. I'm more of a field of carrots.
Yes. Now, Johan Harren, we know, is a good player. Let's see how he plays this hand. He's got a very difficult situation because he's out-kicked. And let's see if we can learn anything from the way he plays. Well, he didn't bet the flop, interestingly. I wonder why. And now what does he want to do? He obviously raised before the flop and was called.
Uh-oh.
He's now going to raise. I think he's in trouble here because I think he thinks he has the best hand. Will he realise? Nope, he can't get away from it. Well, there you go. We know Johan Harren's a good player and he couldn't get away from that situation, so that shows you how difficult it is.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's a difficult game. That's the other thing.
It's a tricky old game.
That's the other thing people need to realise about this game. You know, anyone can play. We can all have some success. That's one of the great things about it. Anybody can have success the first time you play. But don't be fooled into thinking it's easy.
No, that is true.
Look at this. Goodness me, Kara.
Oh, Ah.
Flops
Ooh.
quadlets.
Quadlets.
Sorry, quads. And his opponent's got something as well.
Oh,
Noisy Seagull's
wow.
got the ace.
Will he get
Crazy
paid?
Gums checked it twice. Oh, did he? I'm not quite sure how on the flop. I apologise. Well, I think he will get paid.
Yeah,
he
he
does.
will.
Very hard for Noisy Seagull to throw that away. Actually, probably wrong for Noisy Seagull to throw that away.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's very, very difficult for him to know. It's very, very difficult for him to know that Crazy Gum's got a 7. And he's got top pair with top kicker. Crazy Gum could be bluffing, he could be betting a weaker ace.
Yeah.
He could have had a busted flush draw and be betting that to try and get out of it.
And if he checked it as well, that sort of leads you to think that he might be weak.
I think Noisy Seagull most of the time should call there. I know it looks bad, but there we go. Quads, flopped quads. I don't see that too many times. And it's gone. It's now a memory.
Ah, what a good one. Were you on this show the first time I ever saw a royal straight flush?
With you?
Yeah.
I think so.
That was amazing. Apparently that happens incredibly
Actually, maybe I
rarely in
wasn't.
someone's lifetime. I think it might have been
No, it wasn't
might have
me.
been James
Wasn't me.
commentating, and we saw
Do you do shows
a
with other
straight
people?
flush, royal straight flush. I do shows with other people, occasionally. I'm sorry.
God, do you think you know someone?
I'm stepping out on you, Mr. Wealthall.
Is it better or different?
Only different.
Should I say worse?
Nowhere near as
Do you
good.
know anything about relationships?
Sorry. That's why I'm so rubbish at them, apparently.
Exactly. Whereas I am the master.
You must be.
Oh,
You took someone else out for dinner last week. Let's not even go there.
that's true. I don't have a leg to stand on, do I?
Shameful.
Aggressive play by Charwell here. I like this play. Knows it's the only way he can win the pot. Look at that.
And so he does.
I've got a lot to say tonight, Cara. We're going to do a lot of poker. You know, there'll be the fun and the banter. Of course there will. We're going to do a lot of poker learning tonight.
Good.
I reread, and I do recommend this to people, even if you've been playing for a long time, do
Yeah.
reread your books. Even if you've read your poker books, come back to them because there are things that will click and fire off again. I reread the No Limit section of Super System the other day.
I meant to pick that up, but it's really expensive.
I'll buy it
Thanks. Can I,
for
can
you.
I borrow
When's your
yours?
birthday?
It's in August.
I'll buy it for you.
Oh, you star.
And I know some of our viewers don't like Super System, and that's fair enough, each his own. But for me, the No Limit section in Super System, written by Doyle, is brilliant. It is brilliant.
Good. I will have to read it when you buy it for me
It
for
would.
my birthday.
Oh, dear.
I don't forget these things.
Yeah, I said it in haste.
I know. Regret it
It's
at your
about a
leisure.
tenner, yeah?
Yeah, right. If it was about a tenner, I'd have bought
I'll
it.
be honest, that's my budget for your birthday, so...
Oh, hopefully it'll be on sale then. Get it for me second hand.
I'll shoplift it.
Oh,
You can't shoplift it, can you? Break your wrists.
it's huge,
Massive.
that book.
But it's a fascinating book. Fascinating book.
Excellent.
For example, one nugget. Doyle prefers ace-king to aces in No Limit Hold'em
Why?
because he says that with aces you win a small pot or lose a big pot, whereas with ace-king you will very, very rarely lose a lot of money
Right, because you'll
because
get away
it's
from it
easy to
before
get away
it's-
from.
That's a very good point.
There are a lot of very good points in
Hence the fact that it was published.
That's how it was published. Well, it actually,
That's very good.
10-ball Billy's an aggressive player. Very aggressive move. There's been some good poker on this table so far. Very high standard. He actually literally gave away how to play No Limit Hold'em, and I don't know the date of when it was published, late 70s, I think. And it was not, you know, a lot of the stuff that we talk about every night on Poker Night Live, and you know, a lot of the stuff that's taken for granted now, was not known at all. Wasn't known. For example, Doyle says that he made a lot of money betting people that a pair of twos was a favourite over ace-king heads up. Now,
Really?
I bet you first heard that about 3 weeks into your time on the
Yeah.
show. It wasn't done. No computer analysis had been done on the game at all.
Huh.
People like Doyle Brunson and Amarillo Slim, people like that, figured this stuff out by
Right.
playing and on pen and paper. Extraordinary
Huh.
stuff. But the advice for No Limit Hold'em and how you play and how you make your decisions and why aggression's so important in that book is still, I believe, really, really valid now. Great flop for 10 Bob Billy. We've got the poker clinic open tonight, folks. Send in your problems. If you're big and brave enough, do it right now. Write us an email. You know what you struggle with. You know what you do wrong. You know how you lose your chips. We all have blind spots. I'm talking relative to the rest of your game. What gives you a problem? What gives you a big problem?
Yeah, because you're right. Everyone does have some kind of blind spot. And teachers are always saying, ask the question because there's probably 10 other people in the class who want to ask the same question but are too embarrassed to do so.
That's true.
So you're probably not alone. No matter how simple a question is, if you are new at poker, do not worry. You're not the only new person at poker, the only beginner who's watching the show. I'm sure if you've got a question, there are other people out there who are going to want to know what it is.
I'll tell you the other thing about poker is people find it very hard. I don't know why, but they find it hard to admit that they're bad at something in poker.
Yeah, it's like if you admit it, then you show weakness, and then
I guess
people
so.
won't. Yeah.
I'll happily admit I'm bad at stuff in poker. Charwell's moved on the wrong pot here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and he's got out of it. Made a flush on the end.
Wow.
Well, Charwell moved on the pot. I think I was talking and watching. I think Charwell moved on the pot and 10 Bob Billy called him. So Charwell was unlucky to get called there, but he got out of it. A lot of moves being made at this table.
Yeah, there are. It's nice to watch a bit of poker where it's not premium hands only.
A lot of moves.
Get
Bluffy.
those moves. It's a bit bluffy.
It's a bit bluffy. Underfoot. Don't know what that means. Means something though, definitely. Let's move on.
And I thought we were going to be down to a nearly a bubble situation, but we still plod on.
I was going to say plod.
I know, that sounds terrible, doesn't
Gallop
it?
on, majestically.
Galloping on majestically.
Riding them hard and taking them home wet. That's what horse people say, isn't it?
That is what horse people say indeed.
Yeah, and Harron's going to let this go. He's going to pretend that he's got a hand and then let it go. Well, this is interesting for us to watch. Johan Harron is short stacked at this table.
That is interesting because it doesn't happen that often, does it? That I've seen.
Well, it does happen, but it's interesting to watch how he plays. Unless I miss my guess, he'll be patient, but when he moves, he'll move very aggressively, so he won't mess about. The thing you don't want to do when you're short stacked is bleed chips. So
Yeah,
when you're
so
short
limping
stacked,
in and whatnot's a bad idea.
You don't want to, you can't do that anymore. That,
Gotcha.
That
Yeah.
side of poker is cut off to you when you're short stacked.
Yep, that door is closed.
That door is closed.
Look for the
so
window.
things like yes, or the skylight.
Yeah.
Any way to get out. Another fascinating hand. Look at this: trips versus a flop full house.
Wow.
We've seen some big
Whoa.
hands in this tournament. What a way to start the show!
Excellent.
Belter.
Exciting.
10 Bob Billy's gone, I'm afraid, but not really his fault. He flopped 3 sevens, and his opponent's flopped a full house. That's not nice. And we're down to 5 in this very exciting and long structured sit and go. Johan Harron with the ace-king makes the raise and takes them down, and we'll try to get out of this slight hole he's in. Ace-king and ace-queen. Back to back for him. Just making a double the big blind raise, as we said before about double the big blind raises. If it's enough to take the blinds down, well, you do. Oh, look at this play from Wayne Wallace. Playing back at Johan. Now, Johan might move in here. He's basically deciding between folding and moving in, I believe.
Yeah.
He'll call now to make me look like a moron. Now he folds. I think he was thinking about moving in.
Yeah, less than 10 times a big blind.
Yeah.
Ace queen, that's not a bad hand to move in with. But I guess he's not desperate,
it's not
is
a bad
he?
hand to move in. Yeah, I think it's an interesting decision. I think you could argue that's one of those poker decisions where you could definitely argue either way.
Yeah.
And that's why he was thinking about it. But now look at this gift from the gods. This keeps happening. This table's extraordinary.
Wow.
Wayne Wallace has flopped two pair and Johan Harron's flopped trips. And Johan Harron's going to call like a shot. And having said we'll see how he plays short stacked, we don't get to see that because he's been dealt a monster.
Yeah, he certainly has. Look at that.
Unlucky for Wayne Wallace again because he, check raised, was trying to get Johan to bluff at the pot, thinking very reasonably that he wouldn't have any of that flop.
Yeah. Difficult to tell what sort of cards have hit a flop, really, if you're up against a short stack player. Because they might be playing with almost anything if they're getting quite short stacked.
That's true. I mean, he was in the big blind there, so again, he obviously could have anything.
Yeah. That does make it really difficult to actually have a good read on what your opponent has, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a good thing to remember is that most of the time, people don't have anything.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to remember. You're... I can never remember this figure exactly, but then again, you don't need to know figures exactly. But you need to have a good general awareness, but you don't need to know them to the second decimal.
Yeah.
You're roughly 2 to 1 to pair one of your cards on the flop.
Okay.
So you've only got a 35% chance of connecting with the flop in that way. So most of the time, players don't improve their hands on the flop.
Right.
Which is a good thing to bear in mind. Realising that will help you be more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, there's always a caveat. When you talk, Nick, there's always a caveat. Trying to cover yourself. There's always a caveat in that if somebody's chosen to enter a pot, then they probably have some strength anyway.
Okay.
If they've got a big pair, they won't need to improve it on the flop. But if you're talking about people in the blinds, or if you're talking about people that are short stacked, as you say, or when you're heads up, or when you're short-handed, or near the end of the tournament, a lot of the time, people won't have too much. Which is why it is possible to bully them. Noisy Seagull, and Johan's got a decision here. 500 it'll cost him. Almost 3 to 1 from the pot. He'd get to knock a player out, but he's got terrible cards, and he chooses not to make the call.
That's fair enough, isn't it? Even for those odds.
It is fair enough.
You don't want to let someone double through at your expense. Is that not correct?
That's absolutely correct.
No, you always look so surprised when I do that, when I come up with a pearl of wisdom
no,
that really did generate
you're
from you
confused.
anyways.
It's not surprise, it's
Pride.
fear for my job.
Oh, I see. I got stacks of them here.
Yeah.
Most of them are yours.
Keep them under your hat.
Right.
Otherwise, I'll
be hosting and commentating.
Can we get rid of the bloke that thinks he's a gardener?
Never.
Never.
Wouldn't be the same.
The poker clinic is open tonight, boys and girls.
It is, and they're emailing already, which is great to see.
Good.
There's some interesting questions about general poker-related issues.
What we're doing, guys, is we're asking you, what are you bad at? What really causes you a problem in this game? Whether you've been playing for 3 weeks or 2 years, what are you not getting? What is costing you on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's always interesting to find out what it is that costs the higher ranked players, the better players. I always find that quite interesting. Just what is it that seems to...
Ever since Johan Hammer was short stacked, you just get dealt brilliant cards.
He really
well,
is.
the thing about it is that a diamond for Noisy Seagull,
oh,
there it is. He's out. And Johan's kings are cracked, and he won't be pleased about that one.
No.
Because that would have virtually guaranteed him a payday because he had plenty of chips to get in the money. Now, it's still a bun fight. That was a very good impression of a bun fight, Cara.
Thank you.
If only that'd been on screen.
Ah, shame that.
Yeah, top players and what they do. Well, the fact of the matter is that most players have some. They get called leaks, or they're called holes in their game, or.
Ooh, that fits right into your whole gardening analogy. Leaks. Show us your leaks.
Very good.
Yes.
Yes.
Your leeks and onions.
Show us your
the
leeks.
weak spot in your game.
Leaks are nice though, so how does that?
But it's still it's leaks.
Yeah, show us your leaks.
Show us your leaks.
Get your leaks out. Let's have a ruddy good look at them. Even the top players have weaknesses. And the interesting thing about poker is that they come and go, fascinatingly, in that you'll have bigger things, like, for example, you'll have things which you have as strengths as a player and things which are weaknesses, which will probably always be the case because they'll be in line with your personality, or, you know, perhaps you've got a very analytical brain, or perhaps you've got a very empathetic brain, or whatever, and they will, you know, that will play into your game.
Right.
You'll always have things that you're probably better and worse at. As we see, Noisy Seagull flop top pair. Can Charwell fold this middle pair? I think he can. I think he's a good enough player.
Yeah. You'd have to think up against that your opponent has a king.
Well, he's thinking, am I being bluffed? But no. You'll have these bigger things which are from your personality and from the way that you learn, etc., etc. But you'll also have things that come and go fascinating in the game. Like, you'll go through a phase of making a certain mistake, and then you'll realise you're making that mistake, observe it, and correct it, and it'll go again. So things will come and go, but then you'll also, like I say, you'll also have these bigger things which are to do with the type of person you are and how you play. Tail off a bit there. I think you all got the general point, and you're probably all writing me an email now.
I'm sure they are. I can hear the tap, tap, tap of fingers on keys as we speak.
It's a hard thing, so we're asking people to admit their weaknesses.
I know, it can be difficult, and as you say, poker players particularly seem to have a problem with that. Although, it's got to be said, our viewers don't, because they do email in consistently asking for advice.
But tonight we'd like to know where you're stuck.
Yeah.
I've already revealed one of mine. I'll reveal several throughout the show.
I've revealed 2 of mine already. That's it, that's mine, right there. I've only got the 2.
Charwell makes a bluff on the end here. Well done. That's very good.
Yeah.
Will it be successful? Well,
And
it's a great bet. What a great bet. I hope you enjoyed that at home, guys. That was a great bit of poker. Made Johan Harren fold a pair of aces by setting him all in on the river. I enjoyed that. Play of the night by Charwell. And we lose Johan Harren, and he won't want to see that on the TV when Charwell bluffed him again. Not a nice feeling.
No,
great bet by Charwell.
What could he have done? Seriously, it's...
I'm not... Did I criticise him?
No, you're right. You're saying he wouldn't want to see it, but he should still feel quite good about the fact that he did fold it, because it's a difficult decision.
Difficult decision.
And, you know, however many times out of 10, that's not going to lose him money. So yeah, I'm not very good with the odds, but I should really step away from the odds.
Step away from the odds. Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Noisy Seagull, difficult decision, that one. Decent hand at this stage of the game, but we are on the bubble, and so nobody wants to go out.
Yeah, that's true enough.
And this is where decision-making becomes tricky. I wonder if we'll get any emails on this, because playing short-handed end of a tournament can be difficult. Wayne Wallace is bold. You'd expect him to be with that name. Bold and ginger, I'd expect those 2 things. Moves in and picks up the blind, very valuable at this stage. It's a shame we got Dr. Tom, because I'd quite like to be the poker doctor.
I know, I was thinking that as well.
Yeah.
You could be the poker gardener. Nick the gardener Wealthall.
I don't think anyone's going to understand what the ruddy hell I'm on about.
No, I agree. Not probably not, no. Well.
Never mind.
Nah, never mind.
Tonight, for night only. I'm surprised Wayne Wallace didn't move in there, but he's now got enough chips, so he doesn't want to jeopardise his place. Crazy Gum. I love it when he gets to the stage of the tournament. You can just feel the hesitancy. He decides to be brave, and it's a good move. He's got the ace. Charwell calls him. Now, I wonder how this is going to turn out. Crazy Gum deserves to double through here, because he was bold. And he does. I wonder if Charwell regrets that or not. He did take a chance to knock him out of the tournament, but all he succeeded in doing was doubling him up, and now Crazy Gum's got a real hand. I think Noisy Seagull has to call here. I think he has to call. he can't just sit around and wait. He's getting value on his money, but he doesn't.
Oh, it's a tough decision. It can be, if you don't have a good hand, you just think, it's the end of my tournament life here.
This is the point of the tournament which separates this
is exactly where I fall down.
From the newer players, really.
Yeah, this is exactly where I fall down. I don't know quite how to shift gears. People talk about, this is when you have to start changing gears, this is when you have to step it up a bit, this is when you have to become more aggressive. But I don't know exactly what that looks like in practical terms.
We're going to do a session on it, aren't we?
I think we better. I think I need that.
Basically, it's just being braver than you
normally
want to be. It's just it's moving out of your comfort zone, really. Because you, Kara, and a lot of our viewers have spent their time learning poker, trying to learn how to play the right way, reading a lot of books, watching Poker Night Live and learning what the good hands are and what the bad hands are. And when the blinds are big at the end of the tournament, you kind of have to dump that knowledge and use a whole different skill set. And, you know, that is a challenge. Crazy Gum's been getting some nice cards ever since he got that ace, and he's had aces, and he's now taken the chip lead. And Noisy Seagull has been fortunate enough, very fortunate, let himself dwindle right down in chips, and he's been lucky enough to be dealt a pair. Did get, for my liking, let himself get too low.
Yeah.
And he's now in a 50-50, and Charwell's hit his. Oh, miracle.
Trips.
Miracle. 2 cards to get out, and he finds one.
Wow.
Maybe this has got Noisy Seagull's name all over it.
You never know.
Well, it's just because he's used the caps lock. That's why it's all over it there. Yeah, you see, if you want an example of how not to do it, Noisy Seagull has been too conservative.
Okay.
I'm not having a go, Noisy Seagull. You're by no means alone.
Yep.
You just have to be brave at this stage.
So what should he do here? He's on the button, he's got 5-8, someone's raised up
here
ahead of him, he needs to fold.
Because he's got one more handful of blinds coming.
Yeah.
Now his problem is, I mean, basically there's not much advice to give him anymore because the blinds have gone up to ridiculous levels. 12.80 is down the big blind.
Gosh.
He has no decisions to make.
What should he do here?
He should probably put his chips in because it's slightly better than average.
Is it King 2? The
King 2
better,
suited,
so,
the King short-handed because he's likely to be up against one player. But it's not it's Sophie's choice basically.
Ooh. He's going to have to. He's going to be pot committed in the next hand, so. Yeah, it's better than average. All right.
He's going to be 60-40 or something like that against this ace-6. And we lose Noisy Seagull.
Oh.
Unfortunately for him.
He's gone back to roost on my roof.
Just waiting for you when you get home.
Oh, Lord, 4 in the morning.
Do you know, a seagull could come in, sit on my pillow and start squawking and it wouldn't wake me up.
Really?
At 4 in the morning.
Oh, I find it very frustrating.
You thought about investing in an air gun?
No, but I do have a seagull scarer, which apparently is on the roof.
An air gun is a very good seagull scarer.
Oh, I bet it is. Seagull deterrent.
Yeah.
It cost hundreds of pounds, apparently. I didn't pay for it. And it puts out this subsonic or supersonic or whatever kind of noise that upsets them. And it's supposed to make them fly away and not roost or put their nests on the roof.
It's not working, clearly.
No, but it does upset them so that they actually sound worse than they ever did. They make these really odd noises.
It's quite funny.
It's quite painful. Eesh. Down to the last 3 players. Here we go. Everyone's in the money.
Change gears. Well, there's a good example of changing gears. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
And that's how it works. Queen 6. Now, basically all you're doing, when Wayne Wallace puts it in with Queen 6 there, the big blind has got 2 random cards.
Right.
Okay. Now,
if you have a better than average hand, you should push all in.
Well, no, you should push all in with almost any hand at this point in the small blind, because the big blind will need a better than average hand to call because you're putting him to a decision for his tournament life.
Right.
That's the key. This is the key point of understanding, basically. And Crazy Gum, who's our chip leader for a long time, is in jeopardy here Queen or a 10 required.
Oh.
No, sir. Get out. Played well,
Wow.
had some good cards, finishes third. So what we're doing is we're taking advantage of the fact that the person in the big blind in that situation needs good cards to call,
Right.
or better than average cards to call, and the odds are in our favour because the odds are he won't get them. Even if he does have them and he calls, which won't happen, I'll set out the maths for you at some point, but even if he does have them and he calls, we still have a great chance to get away with it.
Okay.
Because when all the money goes in before the flop, no hand is that far behind another hand.
Yeah.
If you run into a big hand at this point in the tournament, you are just incredibly unlucky, and that's one of those things. But it's much better to put the pressure on, because that's how you make your chips, that's how you win tournaments, that's how you stop bubbling all the time and finishing third all the time
Yeah.
and start finishing first a lot more.
Okay.
It's just about being brave
That
at the right
works.
times.
Yeah.
The timing of it and the judgment is what you learn, basically. That experience brings that in. But you must understand the principle, boys and girls, which is that probably people don't have anything, and you must ask them the question, hey you person in the big blind, do you want to play for your whole tournament?
Yeah.
And Wayne Wallace is showing you a great example of how to change gears. Check
certainly
raises
is.
with middle pair. Middle pair is not the greatest hand in the world. Heads up, it's very often the winning hand. He knows that. He's put the pressure on with it. Chilwell forced to go all in with a pair of tens. He's got unlucky. Wayne Wallace hits his pair.
Wow.
Well played, Wayne Wallace. Very well played, I thought. Good for you.
Wow. Well done to them. That's a fantastic heads up. We've seen quite an aggressive bit of play there. And you're right, I was exactly what I wanted to see. That's exactly where my game falls down.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, actually it's one of the hardest things in poker, because hearing about it and doing it, there's such a big gap. Because you have to
It
be
is.
courageous and bold and brave and
That's
committed.
it.
And that's a hard thing to do, especially when, if you've learnt from either us or from books, or from which you should do, you've learnt about discipline and patience and folding.
Yeah.
So it's kind of flipping that.
It makes it very difficult if you've had that sort of pounded into your head. Good starting hands,
I shouldn't have
fold
pounded
that
you
you've got.
when we were learning, should I?
It hurt so much.
Shouldn't have done that.
But it really has stuck in there, and so now I do find it quite difficult to change gears.
Yeah. Well, it is difficult, but you'll learn by doing it, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? People have been sending in loads of things in your poker clinic, so I think while
Brilliant.
I'm playing my Beat the Presenter in the next hour,
Oh, yes.
you may want to take a look at those and start answering some of our valued viewers and showing them the
doctor
light.
is in.
The doctor is in. The
I
tree
want to
doctor
know-
is in.
If you're just joining us, I want to know tonight what ails you. What? I should probably explain that.
Yeah.
We want to know, what are you doing badly at poker? Let's say you're playing poker at this level. Which bits of your game are here? So this applies to everyone. Doesn't matter if you've been playing for a month or if you've been playing for 3 years. We all have things we do worse than the majority of our game.
Yeah.
And I want everyone tonight to be big and brave and tell me what are you doing badly, and we'll try and help you with that.
Yeah, because a lot of the time you'll find that other people have exactly the same problem.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only sort of beginning player that finds it difficult to know when to change gears. In fact, we've had emails about that exact same topic, so we'll go into some of that. Maybe you are a very, very, very beginning player and you're having difficulty just understanding some of the language that people use. I don't mean the foul language in the chat box, because that shouldn't be happening. That's rude and it's against the rules. I mean, if we're talking about check raises, for example, if we're talking about you know, some of the hands have different names and whatever, that can be quite difficult to understand. If you don't know
Sure.
what people are talking about, then all of this commentary could be a bit over the head.
I think it's a particular challenge to our regular viewers. Let's see if any of them take it up. You know who I'm talking about. Our regular viewers, can you admit in front of the other regular viewers what you're not so good at?
Yeah.
I'm going to. I already have.
Yeah, I already have as well. But you all know what my
Let's
problems
see,
are
and we'll do as
already.
many as we can the next hour, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
See
I
how
think
many we can do.
that's what we will do indeed. Now, we do have a special treat for the viewers tonight. It doesn't happen all that often. We've got a phone in.
A guest.
A guest, in fact, and he's one of our English players. So this should be quite interesting to get an
Good.
English perspective on poker. So here we go. Let's see if he's there.
See you in a minute.
Phone, I believe we have Roy the Boy Brindley. He is one of our top English poker players, as well as being a columnist and a regular commentator as well. Hi, Roy.
How you doing, Cara?
Well, I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Just gearing up for the Ladbrokes Poker Million filming starts this week, so the big countdown's begun.
Oh, I see. Are you preparing yourself?
Personally, I'm playing so bad it's embarrassing. No, seriously, my game's in absolute tatters. But yeah, it's going to be 9 days of filming, so I've got a lot of commentary work to do and a lot of hosting customers and bits and pieces. So busy week ahead.
Right. So you're focusing more on the commentating and whatnot than you are on your actual playing.
I'm doing something wrong as far as the playing goes. That's all I know. I don't know exactly what it is, but I really am. To call it bad would be an insult to bad players. It's woeful.
I think that's a double bluff myself. I think you're probably well on form and you're just trying to sucker everyone in. Well done.
It's one of those funny things. When you win a tournament, you don't look back and remember the times you were incredibly lucky and you rivered a miracle 9 or you filled a flush or whatever. When you lose tournaments, you convince yourself you're playing badly. So I'm hoping I'm playing well and getting unlucky rather than playing badly, but the bottom line is there's no results there.
Roy, it's Nick. How are you, mate?
Hello, Nick.
Hello. The problem is with poker, it's such a confidence game, isn't it?
Well, and truly, we've seen this many times.
Yeah.
A player hits a bit of form. Simon Trumper back in 2002 was unstoppable. Willie Tan a couple of years ago. Look at the run. Al Blondie had Dave Colclough had a fantastic run. There 2 huge tournaments back in 2004, and he's missed the scoreboard far and wide for the last 2 years.
Amazing, isn't it?
And that's all related to confidence. Mickey Wernick for the last 18 months has certainly been on a roll, but dare I say, he will return to the wilderness, and he'll do it with a big bump, I'm certain. Not that I wish it on, don't get me wrong, but confidence is prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's funny you should say that, because we actually had Johnny Chan on the show a few weeks ago, and he was saying exactly the same thing, and it sort of leads me into my sort of next question for you. We were talking a bit about British players versus American players and what he thought the difference was between them and how they were perceived. And it is quite a massive difference, isn't it? In America, the big players like Johnny Chan, he's been in Hollywood in the movies, he's won 10 World Series of Poker bracelets, he's got this World Series of Poker, he's in the World Hall of Fame for poker as well, and he's seen as a bit of a poker god. But over here in England, poker players aren't quite given that same sort of respect, are they?
And so they shouldn't. I don't think. If you go to a table and you say, well, that's so-and-so, he's won this, he's won that, you're handicapping yourself. You're giving yourself your own disadvantage. So, as a player, I don't think you should bow down to anybody. Unfortunately, the way the world is, if you've managed to be successful in the past, certainly in the UK, you're seen as a target. People will happily go home and say, we've got our money in against Devilfish, for example. I suppose he used to face a European poker. We lost, but we were all in against the fish. So they go home with a story, and they seem quite happy to take you on as a name or an established big winning player. Whereas our American friends avoid you like the plague. And I've seen a lot of poker in America, and it's really embarrassing. I mean, Phil Ivey in particular, when the guy puts a chip in a pot, people show the ace king and pass, and you're just beyond yourself. The respect they're given. Certainly Ivey's winning a lot of tournaments. Obviously, you've got to consider him the best player in the world. Yes, but I honestly think so much of that success is on the back of the respect and space that he's given at a table, rather than his actual ability.
Yeah, I saw there's a show called High Stakes Poker where they show a cash game. I don't know if you've seen it, Roy. They show a cash game between some of these guys, and Phil Hellmuth was making a lot of very small bets into pots. And one of the other players ribbed him that he wasn't playing in a tournament against qualifiers now. And clearly what he does, and presumably what a lot of them do, is just make very small bets because they know what you've just said is true, that the Joe Public player will just pass.
Helmut's got a very clear. If you ever play with him in a tournament, he's got a very cunning kind of game plan on him. It's not changed in the last 5 years, and possibly long before that. He does sit extremely tight in a tournament and does not move a chip unless he's got an absolute grade A hand. And he earns the respect of the table, combined with the fact that he's the big man with the World Series bracelets.
Okay, Roy, we have to stop you there. We'll pick that up, though, I think.
Yeah, we'll pick that up next time. We are going to go to a break right now, so stay tuned, because there's lots more poker where that came from, and we'll be talking again after the break. Hey guys, and welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's our second hour here. Thank you for joining us. incredible, isn't it? It went so quickly.
I know.
Amazingly so. 3 more fun-filled, fun-packed, poker-packed hours. And obviously we've got all of your questions and comments from the email. Some of you have been so kind as to let us know what areas you are falling down in, what areas you need help with. The doctor is in, the gardener is here. I'm having difficulty with the whole
Gardener
analogies and whatnot.
I
but
see myself as a priest.
do you?
And I am asking for your
Interesting.
confessional
Interesting.
tonight. What are you
Okay.
struggling with? What do you try not to do, but you keep doing on your own when you're playing at night?
Yeah. I'm going to read our first one for you. Let's dive straight in because we
Here we
do have
go.
quite a few.
Here we go.
Now, this one is from Drum Ace, and it's one of the shorter
Good
ones.
evening,
and
Drum.
Hello, Drum Ace. And Drum Ace says, "Hi guys. Hi, how you doing? I'm bad at actually reaching the money. This is true. A lot of people have this exact same problem." He says, "I'm always playing high cards, and I'm not going to go into any bad beats. Thank you. But I always lose to players who are playing very foldable cards, but getting lucky." And that's Drum Ace, WSOP winner 2010. You know what? You're going to have to beat me for it because I think I'm going to be the
Come
World Series of
on.
Poker 2010. Yeah, so there you go.
Well, I would like somebody affiliated with this show, preferably you. 'Cause
Preferably
you
me,
might buy me
obviously.
something.
A nice bracelet for you. Not as
you.
nice as mine, obviously.
No. I hope somebody affiliated with the show does win the World Series of Poker. That'd be awesome.
So do I.
And Drum Ace has got that goal.
He's got the eye of the chaffinch.
He has, I
But
can
he's
tell.
having difficulty making it into the money. Therefore, what should he do?
Yes, well, making into the money is difficult because you know what? Everybody wants to. That's one of the problems.
It's true.
I'm not being flippant. It is difficult to get into the money because most people enter a tournament won't. That's the whole nature of them. If you're playing multi-table tournaments with big fields, you're not going to make it to the money most of the times. You can be the best player in the world, you won't make it to the money most of the time. That's just the maths of the thing. I know it can be frustrating if you are playing good cards and you're getting beaten by people with bad cards.
Very.
But what you have to understand is the nature of tournaments is that you lose 1 all in and your game's over. And I'm stating the obvious, but that's the situation. If you're playing in a cash game, you can keep getting into that situation, and when the other guy playing rubbish cards gets lucky on you, it doesn't really have much an effect, because you'll be playing on a couple of other tables and you'll have the odds go for you on those tables.
So it evens out.
Hit you at the wrong time in the tournament, you're dead.
Yeah.
What can we do to mitigate this? Well, clearly one of the things is not to put all of your chips in jeopardy unless you have to.
Right.
Something that the pros are very good at is controlling the size of the pot. Now, I've heard James Browning talk about this. I've talked about it with him. I'm sure the others have mentioned it at some point. A good professional player will try and play a lot of small pots and rarely play a big pot. Now, don't come back and say, I have to, the blinds are big, etc. Of course you do. Of course, at some point, you will have to move in. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about general play in the tournaments. When you've got room to manoeuvre, try and play small pots. Try and play weaker players on the flop, because, in my opinion, a good player has a bigger edge over a weak player after the flop than before it.
Right.
Because if all the money goes in before the flop, then your edge, if you don't have a pair, tends to be 60-40 or 65-35, something of that order. Even ace-king versus 7-2 is only, is it 7-4, something like that? So it's not that big an edge. So obviously the other guy can get lucky, you know, quite a lot of the time, and you're out the tournament. So only put your money in before the flop when you have that big edge, when you've got that premium pair, and try and play them after the flop, where your better judgment and your better hands have a bigger edge. If they're pulling for an inside straight and you've got a couple of pair, for example, the edge can be really big, can be like 12-1 in your favour or something, which you won't get before the flop. So I'm talking in very general terms. It was a general email, but that's what I would be thinking about.
Okay. Part of your answer there had to do with playing a cash game. So our next email is indeed about cash games.
Lovely.
And this is from Mr. X. And Mr. X says, I have a problem playing short-handed cash games which translate into multi-table tournament final tables. For example, I've never won an MTT, but lots of second and thirds. Probably my play is too passive. So is that the same sort of... He's saying that he's not winning very many games in terms of
He's talking
MTTs.
about short-handed generally is giving him the problem.
Yeah.
I won't go into, if you forgive me, I won't go into a discussion about how to play short-handed because that's a very, very big topic. Instead, I'll tell you how to correct the problem, which is practice. Practice? The only way to get better at short-handed and heads-up play is to do it. I can point you the way of some good things to read. Harrington has a very good heads-up section, for example, Harrington on Hold'em. But basically, Mr. X, you need to practice, and you need to try different things. So I was talking to Kara, and we're probably going to talk about it after you'll be the presenter and we watch it. This is the next level of Kara's play, basically. It's getting outside your comfort zone, being aggressive and being bold and playing without the cards. So we teach you a lot on Poker Night Live. Hand value scared, aren't you?
Yeah, don't be telling them what I'm going to be doing.
What?
You're not telling them how I'm going to play, are you?
I don't know how you're going to play.
I hope not.
You don't know how you're going to play, do you?
No, not really.
But we're always telling you about the good fundamentals, which you must have. But at the end of a tournament, things change. Short-handed things change, and it's more about pushing other people around, asking them the question, being the aggressor.
Yeah.
And it's less about the cards that you have, Mr. X.
It can be difficult to play.
So if that is your problem, you know, you've taken the first step, you've admitted it to a trained professional. And I would say that go and educate yourself about short-handed play. Watch the show, and we have short-handed play, and we just did a bit, didn't we? Actually,
We did, yeah. Some great short-handed
But the
play.
main thing is to do it yourself. And one of the things that you can do is play on play money tables or play on much smaller limit tables, so that you've got that freedom to experiment and find out what works. So that when you are in the final stage of the multi-table tournament, it really matters to you. Your poker brain can go, oh, I remember this, I know what we do here, and do it with a bit more confidence. Because if you only play short-handed when you get to the end of a tournament, you know, the pressure's on, you really want to win the money.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to make the right decision and play with that confidence.
This is true. Okay, now I'm going to do one more email before I dive in to try to find myself a Beat the Presenter game.
Sure.
Now I'm going to be a little more cagey about which table I sit down at, because there's been a bit of a scrum to get onto the Beat the Presenter tables, and people get a little upset about that. So I'm not giving anything away.
You've got to get a seat,
there.
though.
I know, I do need to get a seat. But I'm going to try and get on one of the longer structure ones. That's what I will say. So if you're on a shorter structure game and you're waiting, probably not going to happen.
Can be disappointed.
I know. But there you go. So now we've got an email here from J Magic. And J Magic, I decided to read this out now because I love how flattering you are in the first sentence. People always say, if you want to get your email read out, you've got to say how great the presenters are, don't you? And he does exactly that. He says, hi, Nick and Kara.
Yeah, we're the only two that actually admit that that's true, though.
But it is true, isn't it?
Yeah, it is true.
It is
well, it's true when we're yeah.
But this actually made me quite laugh. He says, the show's just started, but you two tend to do well. Thank you. High praise indeed. I love that. We tend to do well.
Bless him. Yeah.
Do you feel good about that?
Yeah, I feel
good about
really
that.
good.
We tend to do well.
Yeah, we're playing it now.
Okay. He says, just a quick question that tends to be more particular to internet poker. Should you call more often to a re-raise on the river with 3 cards to a flush on the board with the last of the 3 hitting on the river? This obviously depends on your own hand. Should you call more often with trips than with 2 pair? I say it's more particular to internet poker, as people tend to follow flush draws without the odds more so than live, and it could simply be the case that they have hit 2 pair on the river. Your comments would be greatly appreciated.
Well, the first thing is that it doesn't change whether you've got trips or 2 pair, in my opinion, or not very often, because they're both beaten by flush. Now, obviously, you're thinking if he's got 2 pair, your trips would beat him fine. But your main question that you're asking yourself when the flush card comes is, does he have the flush or not? Well, I would argue that you specifically asked when you're re-raised on the river. When you're re-raised on the river, or when you're raised on the river, as opposed to them just betting, that's a show of a lot of strength by your opponent, because if the flush card comes and they're in first position, they bet out. That's a little bit harder to read, and you might call slightly more often than the situation he's described, where you're either raised or re-raised. So what he's saying is, I've put money in the pot, and the other guy's come over the top of me. He's raised me. That's a show of strength by him, and there aren't many players, particularly at the lower levels, that would bluff like that, because that risks a lot of chips.
Yeah.
Because you've already said, I've got something by making the bet. So that's the first thing I would say. Unfortunately, if you get a show of strength like that when a flush card comes, a lot of times you should throw your hand away. What you base your decision on, of course, is how much is in the pot, how much has he bet, so how much is it going to cost you to call. If the cost is small, you're more likely to make that call. If you're in a tournament, how many chips would the call leave you with? That's a factor. But the key one is, how has the hand played out? do his other actions make sense of the fact that he would have a flush? So did he call your bet on the flop? Did he call your bet on the turn? You know, if he's just calling, it's more likely that he's made the flush.
Yeah.
Now, it is a reasonably common move among good players to, and this is a tip you can put in your armoury, everybody, to call with a flush on board with a plan that if the flush card comes, they will then bluff the flush.
Right.
So they play the hand exactly as if they had a flush.
Yeah.
However, that is not often used by, even intermediate players wouldn't use that very often. So most of the time when the flush card comes and somebody shows you strength, you are going to have to throw your hand away. Do people bluff more on the internet? Do they bluff more when the flush card comes on the internet? I don't know, actually, you know. I'm not so sure they do. I'm not convinced of that one. But if that's your experience, then go with it. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you how people are playing your games. So you'll have to factor in your experience. But basically speaking, show of strength, flush card comes, you're probably in trouble.
Gotcha. Okay, that's something to bear in mind. Now that's a very nice start to the clinic for the evening.
The clinic. Here we are.
The doctor is in, and there will be more of that.
There will be more. What are you doing badly, guys?
Yeah.
What's letting you down? You're great at poker. You've been playing for a year. You're a natural. But something's giving you a problem. Tonight, that's what we're doing. We're sorting out those problems.
That's right. So you can let us know. Lasering them. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Pruning them back. And there's a couple of ways you can let us know what your problem is so that the doctor can give you some advice. Now, you can text poker and your question to 84222.
We're going to have to stop calling me the doctor.
I know.
Tom's going to sue.
Oh, I tell you.
We should go back to the gardener.
Yeah. And there we go. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is our email address. And that's how else you can get in touch with us.
Fire a one-off, guys. And as I said, particular challenge to the regular viewers. We have extended the challenge.
Ah, yes.
Can you admit weaknesses in your game?
That's
I'll
the
admit
first step.
another one in a minute of mine.
Yeah?
Stay tuned.
Ooh, stay tuned indeed. Very exciting. Now we're going to do a couple more emails here. We've got one from Tony, and Tony says, "Hi guys. One area of my multi-table tournament play that I struggle with is the middle stages of a tourney when an above-average stack limps in early position, and it's folded to me in late position. I want to have a go at stealing the blinds, but the early limpers means that I have an extra person to get to fold, and that person likes their hand enough to call the blind. How do you deal with this situation when you have a below average but not desperate chip stack? I seem to be running into this situation more and more, and currently I tighten up my raising standards, and when I do raise, I raise more to increase my fold equity. The downside is that instead of keeping my head above water with frequent blind steals, the early limpers are reducing my opportunities and making the ones that I have more expensive if things go wrong. Any thoughts appreciated? Cheers." And that's from Tony, so there you go.
My thought is, Tony, you've donned a negative hat. I'd like you to take that off and pop on a positive one. Let's stop being a child. That's me. I was talking about me
Oh,
then.
good. I should hope
stop being a
so.
child, not Tony. Tony, it's a really good question about limpers in the middle stage of multi-tables. When I said positive, negative hats, I want you to look at it differently. I want you to look at it as an opportunity. Because what you've said is, people limp it with their hand, so they like their hand enough to play it. Fine, but they don't like it enough to raise with it. So that actually, to me, when I'm playing, that looks like weakness to me. And you will actually find you can make a lot of profit in poker by raising limpers, by raising people that have just called. In fact, top players will do it without looking at their cards sometimes. If they think the situation's right, if they think the players that have limped do that when they're weak, they will make a big raise to take down the dead money there and then. You're right, you've got an extra person to make throw away their cards, so there's an added element of risk, but there's an added element of reward as well, in that when you're successful, you'll win more. Now, making this kind of steal, obviously, you have to worry about your own chips, because it is a steal, so if it goes wrong, if you get called, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where that's going to leave you desperate. So you can only make that kind of play when you've got enough chips, so that if it goes wrong, you can still be competitive in the tournament. If you're short stacked, you can still make that play, but you need to make it an all-in move. That's the thing. But I wouldn't worry too much about one limper. In fact, sometimes myself, I see one limper as the best opportunity, because you've got the two blinds who have random hands. Well, if they run into a hand, that's just poker. You've just got unlucky. They usually won't have anything. The guy that's limped doesn't like his hand enough to raise. So it's probably not a big hand. He will probably throw it away to a decent raise. Try it, courage of your convictions, base it on the player that's limped. And yeah, then that's the other thing. It's really helpful if you've seen them play a hand where they've limped and you've seen what cards they hold. Because occasionally you'll get people that are tricky and limp with big hands, but most of the time a limp means weakness. So pounce on it is what I'm saying. Good luck to you with it. Are you busy getting in a game? Did you want me to just talk?
No, that's all right. We have one more email, and then I'm going to get into a game.
Fine.
Okay, this one is from Mulligan. Mulligan says, "Hi, gang. Really need your help with this one. Nick, I'm a good, solid MTT player, multi-table tournaments. I've won 2 big tournaments online, and I'm a solid single-table tournament, but I get bored, and then I play $3, $6 cash games when I'm drunk, and I lose all my hard-earned bankroll. Can you advise me on how to stay away from these games that I'm not rolled for? Stop getting drunk. Stop entering them."
Yeah.
That's my...
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Now it's down to you.
I think that's reasonably simple, isn't it? When you drink, achieve a minimum safe distance from any computer or internet-ready device before you start imbibing.
I think
that's
so.
the key. Maybe you could set up some sort of massive red siren that sits on your computer that whenever you hit a 3-6 game, it goes off.
Yeah, they have those
I
sorts
don't
of things
know.
on mobile phones where so that you don't drink and text people or drink and call people that
Oh,
you
really?
shouldn't, you know. There's a service that says you're not allowed to actually
that
phone
right?
a certain amount of numbers when you've actually had a few. Or after a certain time at night, because people do tend to phone the wrong people when they've had a few.
My
Same
mum.
thing, you need to do that, yes. We all phone your mum.
Yeah, Sue's lovely.
bless.
I don't know what to say to you, fella. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Just
Remember
say
how
no.
bad it is. Remember how much money you lose. Put a big note up on your computer.
Yes.
Wrong, bad.
I mean, it's fine to play when you're drunk, but play money.
Yeah,
Or play for tiny, weeny stakes. Don't,
$3, $6, ouch.
when imbibed.
Not a good idea.
Good luck with the restraining, Mulligan.
Yeah.
Tell you what is good.
What?
So far tonight, we've had some emails from, I think, either very regular emails or first-time emailers.
That's great,
We
yeah.
love that.
Absolutely. And
New
please
people,
continue to.
come in.
Yes.
Come in.
Come on
If you're
in.
hesitating, don't. Send us an email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. What are you really struggling with doing tonight? What is your problem? What's letting you down? You're playing good, but something lets you down.
Yeah.
For Mulligan, it's drink. I'm really after more strategic,
Yeah.
poker things. But that's cool,
There are numbers you can call for that.
other numbers. I know what is letting you down, what you find difficult, that's what we're doing, isn't it?
That's what we're doing, and we're going to go see another game right now. I believe it's a cash game that we've got lined up for you while I get into my Beat the Presenter game.
Be the presenter.
All right.
You can try, but you will fail.
Oh, yes.
Kara's, I analysed Kara during the break. Just something I do. She doesn't seem to mind. And she has got the eye of the chaffinch tonight. She's
I
on
do.
good form. Last time we were here, you were a little bit more kind of...
I was jet-lagged again
yeah,
as well.
Not 100%.
No, I wasn't, was I?
Bragging about your international travel.
Yes. Jet set lifestyle and all that.
Now...
Been to Barcelona since then, by the way.
God. I've been to my kitchen. What? And what?
Exciting.
You
How
win
exciting.
again. Well done. One of these days, I'll get a girlfriend and then I'll go places and it'll be brilliant and I'll tell you all about it.
And I'll be terribly, terribly jealous.
Well, we are joining a cash game for the first time tonight. 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. So, they can put down $50 on the table. Maximum 50. You can get into this game for as little as less than 50. I don't know why I did that to myself, because I never know the minimum buy-ins. $5, I'm guessing. 10 big blinds, I would imagine. So, it's $50 to buy in, and 25, 30 quid. May not sound like a huge amount of money, but believe you me, you can lose a buy-in in a hand. So when you factor that in, you could quite easily lose 4 or 5 buy-ins in a night. Not difficult to do at all, and that starts to become a significant amount of money. So don't take these games lightly. And we've got some familiar players and some unfamiliar ones. We've got Argyle, Jack, Gold Snake and Johan Harron we've all seen play. And the others I'm less familiar with. But good evening to all of you. Welcome along. While you're playing, email me a question. Tell you what, while you're playing on the TV, email me a question which tells the other players your weak area. I'm joking, of course. But why not? Be bold. Bullets limps on the button. A little bit unusual. You'd normally raise, but some people prefer to limp on the button. That's not funny, Kara.
What?
Do you clicking? Full house for gold snake, but I don't think you can get paid here. Oh, I tell a lie. Bullets is going crazy and committing 50 cents. 50 cents should be committed, actually. A violent, nasty man. I'm with David Cameron. I'm not with David Cameron in any way, shape or form. Don't know why I said it, I panicked. 9s for bullets. 9s for bullets. I don't think anyone will make that trade. I wonder if any of you out there are having problems with cash games. We do get a lot of emails about tournaments, single table and multi-table, and that's cool, if that's what you're playing. But not averse to a bit of cash game advice either. And remember, cash games is where most poker players make their money, or make their regular profit, by regularly beating a cash game. You can have a much more reliable win rate in a cash game than you can in tournaments. Tournaments have much higher variance. Doesn't mean you can't be profitable in tournaments at all, but it can be a little bit less, I don't know, emotionally difficult. So you can go a long time between wins in a tournament. Johan Harren flops the top pair, checks it, almost certainly playing for the check raise there. Reasonably confident he has the best hand. Once Argyle Jack checks the flop, he certainly has the best hand, and this is an interesting raise from Argyle Jack. I like it a lot. It's a semi-bluff raise, which is quite unusual. He thinks Johan Harren would bet anyway, whether he had a hand or not, to try and take the pot, and he thinks he might be able to make him fold if he's got weak cards, but also if he gets called, he's got the flush draw. And Johan Harren folds, so nice piece of play from Argyle Jack. Kudos for that one. Thanks for the emails, guys. They're rattling in. Poker at pokernightlivec.co.uk. We're doing what is your problem in poker at the moment? What's letting you down? What's costing you chips where otherwise you would be winning them? And the 9s are good for Argyle. Tens Johan Harren, ace queen for West Hammerbell, calls with the button. Nothing wrong with that call. Johan Harren could have a weaker hand because he's in late position, and West Hammerbell's going to like that flop. And Johan Harren just checks it. And just gets better and better for West Hammerbell. I don't think he's going to get... Ooh, check raise from Johan Harren. And his timing's off. And West Hammerbell made an interesting call there. I like the way West Hammerbell played that hand, I have to say. He played that very nicely, I thought. Johan Harren wasn't doing anything wrong, just trying to bully the pot, but West Hammerbell didn't raise and encouraged him to pay off, which is nice. Jacks and tens in this one. Sorry guys, just looking at a couple of your emails, which we'll be doing in a sec. Well, it's a nightmare flop for Dead Man. He's a bit of a dead man in this one because it looks like a good flop for his tens, 3 undercards. He could reasonably expect to have the best hand here. As we can see, he doesn't. I wonder if Johan Harren will raise or call. Johan should probably raise because the danger of a queen, king or ace coming is substantial. Now, can Dead Man get away from these tens? That might help him, actually. That club may well... well, it might slow Johan Harren down, and it might allow Dead Man to get away if Johan Harren bets. Not a nice situation to flop an over pair, but have a bigger pair out there. That is not what you want, no, sir. Well, is that a defensive bet by Dead Man? Is he just trying to stop Johan Harren bluffing? Do you think he's got the best hand? Well, Johan Harren's raised. I'm surprised Johan didn't just call there, but I guess he figures Dead Man doesn't have the flush, and he does get paid, so it's a good value raise. Interesting hand. Unfortunate one for Dead Man. Very, very difficult for him to get away from that. He couldn't really put Johan Harren on a better hand than he had there, I don't think. Ace Queen for Argyle Jack he could raise, but he just decides to check. Great flop for Blitz, flops 2 pair and quite rightly bets out. Can't mess about with bottom 2 pair, it's so easy to get this hand cracked. And he takes the pot, he should be happy with that. It's not a strong enough hand to slow play. I mean, maybe heads up, he might do. But if the board pairs, you can suddenly be holding next to nothing. So good to play it fast, I think. West Ham Bell flops 3 aces and checks them. Goldsnake's got the flush draw, and Bullets has the weakest hand in that he's beaten at the moment and not likely to improve, but he bets with position. And it got better and better for West Ham Bell. He's made the full house, and he would have been praying for the flush card to come, because he would have got paid a mondo there. Didn't happen for him, unfortunately. We're going to take a couple of emails. You all right?
I'm all right, thank you.
You're having fun?
I am.
Playing poker for cash. Yeah.
Poker face.
Poker face, eye of the, look at that.
Amazing,
Solid as
huh?
rock.
Mm.
No reading that.
None at all.
Kara's playing online. We're going to look at her game when she's done, in an hour or so, and analyse it.
In minute detail.
There were quite a few emails about something we've already talked about, actually, which is changing gears and the end of the tournament. So we'll perhaps think about that a bit more as we go on. Go on from Peter. We've been asking you today, guys, what's your weak area? What's causing you a problem? I don't mean the dodgy knee that you did in football as a kid. I mean, you know, your poker problem. Peter says, "Dear Nick," formality, I like it. "I've just watched the start of the show and it's prompted me to ask you how I'm particularly at my game. Great. I've been playing for over a year, not making a profit, but in the last month or so I've started to do well in sit and goes, averaging over 40% in the money. That's very good. Started to do well in multi-tables, reaching 5 final tables and finishing first twice with many minor prizes. This is limit and no limit. Well, that's good stuff. However, I can't crack low stakes cash limit games. So this is, we watch no limit on this show. This is limit, where how much you can bet is structured and defined. So I'm just explaining this because some people don't even play limit anymore, don't even know what it is. But if you had a $10, $20 limit game, you'll be able to bet and raise $10 before and on the flop, $20 on the turn in the river. So it's a structured game. And Peter can't crack them. I average a loss of 5 cents per hand, not good. I don't want to move to no limit games until I have a good understanding of why I'm losing. I'm a tight player. I usually play Jack 10 or above, loosening up just before the blinds, and I rarely bluff. My one weakness is not betting my better hands. That's my problem. Can you give me any other help? Well, I can give you some general pointers about limit. Limit's a game where aggression pays. And where it's usually your key decision point in limit is on the flop, basically. If you decide to play on the flop, normally, it's not every time, but normally you should play through to the end of the hand. You should play the turn and the river. And the reason is that in most pots, you'll be getting the right odds to call. Particularly on the river, you should rarely fold on the river. Very different to no limit. Rarely fold on the river in limit, because the pots are usually big enough that even if you're pretty sure you're beaten, throwing your hand away and being wrong is a bit of a catastrophe, because it only costs you, like, say, a tenth of the pot to find out, whereas in no limit, somebody could bet you the size of the pot, and then it's a difficult decision. So you should call more in limit than no limit, and you should be aggressive, because people, you have to stay with this one, because people are getting the right odds for their draws, the more times you can make them fold in limit, the more profit you make. So the best limit players are very aggressive because they're constantly trying to make the other guy put down his hand. That's the key. So a lot of raising, re-raising, and so on. It's very difficult for me to tell you how to improve your limit play, because obviously I don't know exactly how you play. I don't know what the games are like that you play in. Definitely, if we're going to play limit, you need to read the 2+2 literature, which is the Slansky and Malmuth books. You must read them. Hold'em and then Advanced Hold'em. You need to get those under your belt. They will help your limit play enormously. Low limit, cash limit games, you need to play. The final piece of advice I give you, there's a lot I could say, and I don't want to go on one subject for too long. The final piece of advice, Peter, is in a loose low limit game where lots of people are entering the pot, and this is probably where you can change your game a bit. Big cards lose their value. I'm not talking about big pairs. Aces, kings and queens still have a big expectation. Hands like ace jack, ace queen, king jack, king queen go down in value, and the reason they go down in value is that many players are in the hand, and the expectation is the hand will be won by something like a set or a flush or a straight, and those hands are not. So sometimes, if you've got a hand like ace jack and there are 6 limpers to you, sometimes you should throw it away, amazing though that may sound. You should play more small pairs, and particularly connecting cards. Suited connecting cards, even better. So 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9. Even you can play one gappers like 10, 8 suited. So you can probably play a few more hands than you think, I would say, because you're trying to make bigger hands like sets, straights and flushes if you're playing a game with lots of people in. I hope that helps a little bit. Do go away and get the literature under your belt. It'll help you enormously with limit. And if you're doing well in tournaments, there's no reason why you can't crack limit cash games. Hope that helps you. Peter, guys, we are doing What is Your Weak Area tonight, poker at pokernightllive.co.uk. I'm the doctor and the gardener of your poker garden and poker body, respectively, the other way around, actually. And we are looking at what you do less well. I know you're all great, but what do you do less well? We'll sneak one more in before we go back to the game. This is from Big Shan. He says, I can play really well in the early stages of an S and G, sit and go, making moves to build up chips, calling for very favourable pot odds. My problem is I find it hard to slow down after that, building a big stack, and I play too many hands. Lo and behold, after a few crapshoots against short stacks, I find myself fourth and then I bubble. I do fairly well in MTTs, regularly getting the money, but cannot transform this form into a sit and go. Have you any advice? Well, my advice, Big Shan, is to listen to your own diagnosis. You've done one of the hardest things in poker, and kudos to everyone on the emails tonight on this topic of what are your weaker areas, because it's difficult to admit where you're not as good, or even if you're bad at something. But you've not only admitted where you've got a problem, you've also diagnosed it. If you've built a big stack and you've taken risks to do it, you don't need to keep taking risks. You don't need to do that. Why not if this works for you at the start, so you're playing aggressively at the start, play conservatively in the middle, get yourself into the money, and then go back to your aggressive game when you're trying to move from third to first and the blinds are big and you're bullying people. But don't feel compelled to switch off. Why not try something artificial? If this is a real problem, why not say to yourself, I don't know what games you're playing in, but when I get to 4,000 chips, say, when I get to, if I get to 25, 30% chips on the table, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go and sit in a different room and read a book for 5 minutes or something. I don't want you to jeopardise your place in the tournament. What I'm saying is, why not artificially ingrain it into yourself that it's all right to just sit tight and get blinded away for a little while. Please don't do this if the blinds are big and then email me back and say, I got you blinded out. I hope you understand what I'm saying. If you find it really difficult to slow down when you don't have to play fast, then do something artificial to drill it into your brain that it's all right not to play for a bit. That's just a little tip. I hope that helps, Big Shan. Guys, keep them coming in. Things you're not as good at, problems. We're admitting our weaknesses today. Poker@poker.live.co.uk is how you do it. Kara's playing her Beat the Presenter game. Are you having fun, Kara Scott?
I am having fun, thank you very much.
It's all right, isn't it?
It's not
You winning?
bad. I probably am.
You're still in. I mean, that's winning, isn't it?
Oh, stop it.
Well, I'm just saying. So is everyone else, though.
Uh-huh. So we're all winning at
I hope you
this
win.
point.
I'm pulling for you.
Thanks.
So, everyone out there. We're going to get back to our cash game, I think. Let's have a look. Get 'em, Kara.
Go get 'em.
Just get 'em. Just saw some aces there. Always nice to see. Just generally. It's nice, isn't it? Best hand and all that. And so we're watching a no-limit cash game. 25-cent, 50-cent blinds. And 7 seats, seat open. Come and join us on the TV. It's brilliant. Johan Harren flops an ace. Gold Snake flops an ace, sorry. Johan Harren flops nothing. And I'm surprised Gold Snake doesn't want to venture a little something into this pot. And that is a little something, the absolute minimum something, but it's enough to take it down. Nobody has anything. And you'll be amazed how often nobody has anything in Holden. Happens a lot. Well, we had a particularly exciting moment a couple of weeks ago when some cake was delivered to the studio. I have to say, my PNL family of chums, it didn't start an avalanche of cakes. I always assumed that when we got the first one in, there'd be no stopping you. You'd all want to be part of the privileged class of cake sender-inners. Hasn't happened. My door is always open. My gut is always waiting. Do send us cake so we can be like the cricket. Johan Harren hits a 5. And West Hammerbell now hits a jack. Well, West Hammerbell must have had an up and down night, because when we've watched him, he's been hitting cards. He's had some really big hands, but he hasn't built up that much money. So he must have been having some bad situations too. Perhaps he's been crazy and blown it all. Oh, mark the 3-4 there. I think I'd have played it for 25 cent. What the heck? Well, Johan thinks he can pick up the pot here. Gold Snake didn't show him any strength before or after the flop. Kara, please stop doing the dance. I can't talk. Sorry, boys and girls. I appreciate you can't see what's happening.
You didn't get to see the dance.
They didn't get to see. They'll see you later.
That only happens off camera.
Off camera. West Ham Bell's got the flush draw and the ace-queen to hit, and Gold Snake's got nothing. I wonder if he'll bluff at this. He does bluff at this. Now, will he get away with it? Very difficult call for West Ham Bell to make. Doesn't have a pair, and nice timing by the Golden Snakelet, as I call him sometimes. I hear he likes it. I don't know. And he's playing a lot of hands, Golden Snake. If that's his style and he can make it a winning one, more power to his elbow. Harder to play, I think. That would be my tip to you guys. The more hands you choose to play, the harder it is to make profit. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make profit. What it means is the more hands you're playing, the more weak hands you're playing, and that means you'll be in more marginal decisions. So, for example, if you play a hand like ace-6, that's a very marginal hand. It's not a great hand. If you flop an ace and you bet and somebody raises you, or you bet and somebody calls, you are then in a difficult situation. It's difficult to know whether you're beaten or not, whether you're out-kicked. If you're a great player, then you can make those judgments accurately a lot of the time. If you're a learning player, it's harder to do. If you're an intermediate player, it's pretty hard to do. You'll see the top pros will play a lot of different hands, but they're doing that on the basis of position, stack size, all kinds of different things. And they're backing their ability to make those difficult decisions correctly. But it is not easy. The more hands you play, the harder it is to make money in poker. Drill that into your brain. Not literally, that would be hideous. Bullets has 3 4s and check raises with them. Argyle Jack calls, don't mind that. If Bullets bets again, though, I think Argyle Jack's got to think that he's beaten. No, he doesn't. He's going to boldly raise. Well, Bullets knows he's ahead here, surely. And now he definitely knows he's got the full house. Argyle Jack folds. What value there was in his pair of 3s is gone, as the board is 8s and 4s. Ace-king on the button, nice place to have it, because there's a lot of disguise. And the ace comes, but Gold Snake doesn't have anything, although he does have one thing, and that's a propensity to bet. Somebody's put vinegar on his cornflakes this morning, Gold Snake. He's full of moves. Not always winning moves at the moment, but hey, it's good to watch, livening up the TV table. We like it. Kerry, are you writing a short essay about your tournament?
Yes.
All I can hear is your little
Tap, tap, tap.
chat.
I'm trying to tap the keys much quieter, that's all.
Yes, and that's how keys work, isn't it? If you
It's like a piano, just
yes,
don't hit them quite so
very
hard.
similar to a piano.
Yes.
Well, Gold Snake hasn't seen starting 2 cards he doesn't like. He's backing his ability to win with anything. He's going to find it hard to win here, although he has now picked up a flush draw. Although it would have to be a flush that doesn't pair the board or isn't a queen, so that rules out a couple. And now he has nothing, and Bala has a good hand with the 3 aces. Now, stay tuned, boys and girls, because very soon I'm going to admit one of my weaknesses in my game.
Really?
Yes, well, I've already done one. It's not surprising. You know.
But admitting 2, that's a
I mean,
whole
well,
other
I'm
thing,
going to
isn't
space them out throughout the night. We'll get to 17 and 18 towards the end of the evening. We're doing weaknesses tonight, guys. What is giving you trouble? What are you struggling with in this great game of ours? What are you doing less well than you do everything else? Are you brave enough to send me an email and admit what you're doing wrong and receive the answer to your ills, my son? I think I'd make a brilliant priest.
I think that's an interesting idea. That's all I'm going to say.
That was very funny. You're playing well, Cara Scott.
Thank you very much.
Every time I look over, you're playing well.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying myself. I'm getting into the groove. I think I may be playing this for quite some time now.
Really?
Just saying.
Sorry, we're fine, me and the kids. Thanks for emails. Here's another one. This is from the Double Top, and I did say any regular viewers that could admit weaknesses in their game got particular props, as the kids say, from me. Well done, the Double Top. Here we go. Hi, Nick and Cara, the Mr. and Mrs. of Poker Night Live. I think that's true.
Oh, bless.
Let's rebrand. The small blind, says the Double Top. This is my biggest point of leaking chips, and I'm prepared to admit. I have a list of about 20 things I'm working on to improve my overall game. Good for you. We should all have a list of about 20 things. There's a lot to this poker lark, and you should be always trying to improve. But the small blind. Making up the small blind just to see the flop is terrible. If you hit middle or bottom pair, you have to bet, otherwise why see the flop? I've lost so many chips that I should put to better use when I have a better situation. What does Nick do about playing from the small blind? Well, you're pushing at an open door. It's one of the things that I've said a decent amount on the show. I used to say it more a while back, actually, when I saw people doing it a lot. People play too much from the small blind, the Double Top. You're absolutely right. And everybody out there, the thing you need to remember is when you play from the small blind, you're in the worst position on the poker table. If you play from the small blind, the rest of the hand you'll be acting first, and that's not where we want to be. The problem is that it looks attractive, and we hear people say, you know, if you make up the small blind, 4 people have limped in, you're getting 9 to 1 on your money. Fine, but as the Double Top says, you will leak money after the flop because you'll get into situations where, let's take an obvious one. Let's say you've got a hand you wouldn't usually play, like Jack 8 in the small blind, but it only costs you half a bet to be in because the pot's been limped. And let's say the flop comes Jack 4-2. You've got to bet in that situation, as Double Top says. You could play for the check raise, maybe. Those are your 2 options. But you've got to put money in the pot, because otherwise you're folding top pair. If somebody, one of the limpers, has got Jack 9, Jack 10, Jack Queen, which is more than possible in a limp pot, you're in a horrible position. You're out of position against a better hand. And I do think in tournaments I'd be slightly more inclined to complete with a small blind, just because of the possibility of flopping a really big hand, and you need to take advantage of when you can play cheap flops in tournaments. So I do it slightly more often. But in cash games especially, and it does apply to tournament games, I do think that the wise thing you can do is throw it away. After all, guys, we have to pay the blinds. There's nothing we can do about that. So don't get too worried about throwing it away, even if it's cheap, because you may cost yourself more in the long run. So the Double Top, why not Double Top? If this is a problem area for you, why not say you will never play a hand from the small blind for a month or something, watch your results, unless it is aces, kings, queens, or ace-king, or jacks maybe. And don't play anything else, just throw away everything else, just to see what effect that has. See if it gives you a profit or a loss. Why not try that? And also, it means you, for a month or for a couple of weeks, it means you don't have to make that difficult decision, because you've made it already, which is you're not going to play from there. And then come back to us and tell me how it goes. Zitty sent an email. Good evening, Zitty. Another regular willing to admit a problem. One of my major poker problems is related to changing gear towards the end of the tourney. We're getting this a lot tonight. I think it's one of the themes of the night. I'm getting better at it, to the bubble and bubble with one player with a reasonable number of chips, but I still manage to cock it up, and often I still manage not to make the money. I seem to keep on accelerating, and having made a stack, chuck it back at the other players. Once you're, say, second stack, should you then revert to steady play and wait for the others to knock each other out? Or once you actually keep on the pressure and become the table bully? Well, Zitty, the frustrating answer is that there's no one answer on this. You need to judge it compared to how big your stack is to the blinds and whether the other players are particularly tight or not. If you can take their blinds, then why not? If they're nervous about going out, then why not? But don't feel you have to. If you're second stack or chip leader and you feel that it's right to wait to get into the money, then do it. Don't feel you have to play. If the blinds aren't a threat to your stack, you don't have to play. You can then open up again when you're in the money. Nothing wrong with that strategy at all. If the blinds are going to become a threat to your stack, then you should probably keep trying to steal. But you're right. Don't feel like you have to play, and don't make raises that will double people up. You've got to be particularly careful with raising short stacks, because they'll call you with almost anything. So you need a better hand to do that, even if you've got chips, in my opinion. But it is a difficult spot, and it's one of those things where your judgment will improve the more you do it. But as with everybody that's joined in this tonight, and thank you so much, you will...
And on the phone, we have Roy the Boy Brinley. You stayed on the phone for us, so thank you very much. We were going to come back to something we were talking about a little bit earlier, weren't we, Nick?
Yes, I think we were talking about Phil Hellmuth. We're actually talking about British and American players, but it seems we were talking about Hellmuth. You were telling us his tournament game plan, Roy?
Yeah, just it's very tight in a tournament and doesn't play any hands in the early stages. By the time he puts a chip in the pot, invariably he'll turn over a quality hand, and the table will see it and digest it. And he really just goes to war as the blinds get bigger and bigger, by which time players are running a bit scared. You know, he's got a game plan, and combined to the respect he'll get with his reputation, he does, again, I think he does better in these tournaments than his ability deserves. I know it's a big statement to make, but I just think a lot of players handicap themselves and could do a lot better than what they do, but they allow an aura, and I'm talking about our American friends here at the tables, that they allow an aura to overcome them.
Are there any of the Americans you've played with that have impressed you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, they can play a bit, but let's look at the World Series, let's look at the size of the field, and let's look at the results which go, you know, to players outside of America, particularly the main event. You know, the success rate of non-Americans at the final table is impressive, isn't it? The number of players that are getting to the latter stages. I do remember the year, I think it was '99, there was 4 Irishmen went to the World Series and 3 at the final table.
Yeah. Yeah,
that
it's
is impressive,
interesting.
yeah. Absolutely. There's a lot more televised poker being shown now. Every country seems to be jumping on the bandwagon, doing a bit of televised poker. I know that you've got some strong feelings about that. It seems to me that it allows sort of the average Joe to be able to get in on some games, like even the World Series of Poker qualifiers, where they would end up against the professionals like Phil Hellmuth or, and Ivy as well. So what do you think about that?
I'm treading on cold thin ice here. Obviously, I do a lot of work for these TV stations, and I shouldn't be seen to be critical, but Roy being Roy, I will be. There's no defined tool. There's no, you know, basically anybody with a deck of cards, a table, and a bit of TV airtime can hold a poker tournament. It's fragmented into 1,000 different directions, and it's not healthy at all. You know, I can see this isn't snooker. It's not darts. You've not got 10 people in the British Isles which can play to you know, an incredible level, and you've got, you know, the rest of the country looking on in admiration. Anyone can play poker, some play it better than others. None of the TV tournaments we have are conducive to the good players coming to the fore. Most of them are single table shootout style. You know, the old chestnut appears, well, let's all the professional poker players get together, set up some association and refuse to play in these tournaments unless we get some sort of concession on the entry fee, unless we get some kind of appearance. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's been proven now, well and truly, you can bring 10 guys in off a bus stop, or should we say off the internet, stick them in a TV studio, and people will watch what they're watching. As far as they're concerned, the guy they're watching is as qualified or as good or as skilled as Stu Unger, and they will still watch it. And sadly, you know, if poker could unite, and unfortunately I'm convinced it won't and it can't, we would have a decent product, and we would be able to. I'm writing something now for the Sportsman on Sunday about the World Series of Poker, and you know, Harrah's last week announced a lot of sponsorship deals in place for the World Series, and it will be going out live on TV this time, ESPN pay-per-view. And the up and down of it is Harrah's been making something like $80 million out of the World Series main event alone.
Wow.
That will equate to $1,000 per player. On top of that, we pay registration fees, which really add up. And what's the player getting back? There's not a penny put back in the prize pool. But all the time people will turn up and play, it's never going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose that is true. So
it's been historically incredibly difficult to regulate poker, though, hasn't it? Because it is so easy, as you say, for anybody to put on a game.
Yeah.
Can you see any way in which an association or some sort of it can be structured, Roy, or do you think it's just fruitless?
No, there's just simply too much infighting. There's a lot of jealousy involved in poker because everyone can play it and anyone can claim to have some results here and there everywhere. There's always a dispute between all the players, who's the better, who's best, who's done this, who's done that. Why is he playing in that televised comp and I'm not? I've done this, I've done that, you know. And that infighting's going to stay. And at the end of the day, you know, if you're sat at home, you get a phone call from an organisation setting up a televised poker tournament. So we've got this tournament on. You're going to be on TV. Blah 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 blah. Would you like to play? You're going to say yes. You're not going to say, well, no. It goes against my goes against the association I'm not a member of.
That's true. And we're going to come back to that again after the break, because we're going to go to a break again here. But Roy the Boy Brindley will be staying on the line for one more quick chat later on. So we'll see you very soon. Hello and welcome back to Poker Night Live. We're still here with you. I'm still playing the Beat the Presenter, so I'm afraid that means that you really will have to carry the show on your own. Not that you don't do that every night, mind you.
Even
Doesn't he, though?
Does it remove your power of speech when you...
No, but I do have to keep looking back at the screen. And if we're on camera,
I think it's quite funny.
Everyone can see what's going on my face.
I think we'll try and induce a panic.
I know.
Gosh. All right, play your game.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Play well.
Off you go with your emails then.
And all that. Guys, this is Poker Night Live. I'm Nick Wealthall. That's Kara Scott. We've got 2 hours left of live, no limit, online action.
Yay.
Lots of stuff still to come, guys, including the multi-table tournament, which I haven't seen so far tonight, and the normal Jizz Jazz. Email response has been fantastic tonight, boys and girls. Thank you so much. And particularly because what I was asking you to do, what we were asking you to do, was admit your weaknesses. So what are you doing in a game? You play poker at a certain level. What do you do below that level? What do you do badly, if you like? What's causing you a problem? I'll tell you another one of mine, my problem areas at the moment. Which one shall I tell you? That's quite worrying, isn't it? One of my problem areas at the moment is betting on the end. We talk a lot on this show about how you've got to be very cautious about betting on the river. But sometimes you should bet the river when you've got a good hand. And something that I'm struggling with at the moment online, I don't have a problem with it live, is when I should bet when I've got a good hand and when I should check it down. So when I should, say I've got a set or something like that, and there's a possibility of me being strategy, a set not so much, say 2 pairs, something like that. So I've got a good hand but beatable. When should I bet that for value and when should I just check because I can win the hand right there and then? That's causing me some problems online at the moment, and I've made a couple of mistakes with not making bets when I should have made them, so I'm trying to correct that at the moment. If you've got any advice for me, it's poker@pokernightllive.co.uk. Do want your problems, do want your misses, do want your emails. Buzzer's emailed in. Good to hear from you, Buzzer. He says, hi, Nick and Kara. Good to see the best combination of presenters back together.
Oh.
It's nice of him, isn't it?
Oh, that's sweet.
That's like 50% of that's to you.
Almost.
Yeah.
I've never been good with odds.
My weakness is just never wanting to play a weak hand. If I have a goodish hand and the short stack goes in, I just don't want to call through fear of letting them double through. Any advice on how to be more aggressive? Thanks. Please give a shout out to all the great dogs playing. I've just done that. Any advice on how to be more aggressive? Well, do you know what? I think the best piece of advice I can give you is to just do it. Just put your chips in when you normally wouldn't. And do you know what? It will feel uncomfortable when you do it. It will feel wrong and perhaps a little dirty. But that doesn't mean to say you shouldn't do it. You need to get out of your comfort zone because you're playing one way and at times you've already acknowledged, very perceptive, you know what you're doing wrong, but you need to then push yourself out of your comfort zone. Whenever we try in life or anything else to change something, it's difficult because we're resistant to it because our subconscious and our bodies protect us because they're going into the unknown, whereas the known they already know is fine. So we always have that thing that resists change, so you need to power through that. Lots of ways to do that. Try playing at a lower limit or try playing play money and being more aggressive. Try doing things that are premeditated. Because if you, say you're in a hand, you're in a tournament, and you think you should be more aggressive, but usually you wouldn't be able to do it, like you say, calling when you think you should, but you just don't quite have the bottle. If you wait until that moment to make that decision, you'll go with what you know, so you won't do it, as you're not doing from your email. Do something premeditated, like before a hand starts, decide you're going to raise no matter what your cards. If somebody's raised before, decide you're going to re-raise no matter what the cards. Now, I'm not telling you to do this a lot. I don't want you blowing lots of chips. But what I want you to do is challenge yourself and do things in a premeditated fashion that will get you out of that comfort zone and get you used to doing things you wouldn't normally do. And yes, you can use it in other areas of life. Fill in the blanks. I'm sure you will. This is an email from Simon. Hi, Simon. He says, a question about blind play, which he finds difficult. If you're on the small blind and someone raises the big blind, so I presume you've completed the small blind, and you have decent cards like ace queen, and the flop comes down, 5-8-3, rainbow, you check, he bets the pot. Should I think he's bluffing or should I throw it away? What should I do to avoid this happening? My advice to you is take the lead in the hand. If you're in the small blind with good cards and it's just the blinds, it's really, really important that you establish your dominance in the hand and be aggressive. So you want to bet out both before the flop and on the flop. If he raises you, you take a view. He could be bluffing, he could be not. It's very, very difficult, depends on a lot of factors, particularly what type of player he is, how you've seen him play before, what type of player he thinks you are, your two relative stacks if it's a tournament. Lots of different things to think about, but the key piece of advice here is try not to make up the small blind too much. Try and either raise or fold normally. And if you are in that situation where you've got decent cards, ace queen, you should definitely take the lead in the hand. Hope that helps a little bit. Guys, we are doing things that are weaknesses in your game tonight. Snowblind's emailed in. Thank you, Snowblind. Long-time friend of the show. Happy to admit a weakness. Good on you, etc. He'd say, my biggest problem up to 2 weeks ago now is putting down ace-king pre-flop. I've been teaching myself to do this by, if I call all in pre-flop near the start of a sit and go with ace-king, I make myself put £2 in a jar every time I do this and bust out. There you go. We talked about this tonight, haven't I? I've said a couple of things. Things like taking a break if you think you're playing too fast, walking away from your computer. Just in the last email talking about premeditating doing something. Guys, if you want to change something in your game, or your life actually, if you want to change something in your game, then you need to break that pattern. You need to do something artificial to make you change, because otherwise you'll just keep doing what you've always done. Snowblind's come up with a brilliant one. Have a jar. Every time you commit your sin in poker, whatever it is, his is calling all in with ace-king, put some money in the jar. That's a brilliant way of doing it. I've only really called because I didn't have the power to put it down. We're doing this for 2 weeks now. Believe me, it soon works when you find your beer money disappearing. Of course it does. Good for you. What a brilliant way to change your play. At the moment, the biggest problem I now have is the final third of a multi-table tournament. I'm there or thereabouts in the MTT, but fail to keep up with the blinds and end up short stacked whilst I've been waiting for good hands, and have to push in with no too good of a hand. Been trying to solve this problem playing more loose, but I find I have no respect no matter how long I've been sitting there. Help! One of the things you can do to avoid getting short stacked in a tournament is when you're at a certain level of the blinds, instead of playing like the blinds are at that level, play like they're a level higher. So say you're in a tournament and the blinds are 100, 200, and you're sitting there with a stack, and usually you'd be quite comfortable, but you've got the same problem as Snowblind. Why not imagine the blinds are 200, 400? And that will make you play more aggressively. That will make you try and build chips, try and look for opportunities, and not wait till the blinds overtake you. You always want to be one step ahead of the blinds. Very, very important. I just looked to my right and seen a horrible bad beat. That's what this wonderful game can do to you.
Oh, I'm not crying, Ziddy. Really, I'm not.
You're actually crying. She's actually crying. Can we get a close-up?
That's not fair.
Oh, bless.
That's not fair.
Sorry, Cara.
I'm not cut out for this game.
You're still in. Don't. You're still in.
Okay.
You can still win it. Never give up. Sorry about that. I had to stop for that moment of drama. Snowblind.
Camera off.
Get back on me. Back on me. It's too much pain. Snowblind was asking about the end of a multi-table tournament. He asked about not getting short stacked. One of the ways to do that in a tournament. I don't want you to do this forever. I just wanted you to do it until you correct the problem. Think of the blinds being higher than they are. So that should make you move your chips before you are at the moment and loosen up. As for not getting respect when you make plays, that is difficult. It's particularly difficult on the internet because people call more. So it can be difficult. I would say to you, try making plays after the flop. If you're playing a game where you don't get respect pre-flop, just to try something different, why not try limping in and then make a move on the flop? Because people tend to throw their hands away more online after the flops. That's something else you can try. I hope all that works. I'm dispensing a lot of gems here, people. I hope you're writing these down. Guys, we are talking about weaknesses in your game. What is it causing you a problem? What are the things that you do are bad? What are the things you do and you keep doing, you know you shouldn't, but you're still doing them? Admit them to us and we're going to cleanse them together. We've been doing good stuff tonight. Here's how you get in touch. Couldn't be easier. All you need is a mobile telephone or internet-ready device, or very fast carrier pigeon, or an incredibly loud voice. Text poker in your questions to 84222, or email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Fantastic response tonight. We can always do better. I've got an emotional wreck next to me. You all right?
Yeah.
All right. But can we go to a game and I'll sort this out?
Oh, that was a really emotional game, that was.
I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm picking up the pieces of a shattered chaffinch.
Oh, well, I did try and follow the game plan that you set for me. And it did work, a lot of it. Definitely did. I just had, like you say, a couple of bad beats.
Well, you had a horrible beat there.
Oh,
you did everything
ouch.
right and had a horrible beat, and that's just I'm afraid, the way it
It happens.
goes.
That's poker. That's variance.
That's variance.
Very who now? Variance.
Very who now.
Oh,
Be
ouch.
strong, Kara Scott.
Will do. Will do.
This is our multi-table tournament, 200, 400 blinds, and there's been some things on the forums about this, there's been emails about this. We're showing you a bit of the middle stages. Don't say we don't do what you tell us to do. This is your show, and we try and cater to your every whim, guys. This is the middle stage of the tournament, which many of you find very difficult. We know that from our emails. Heck, we all find it difficult. Multi-table tournaments are difficult. Curse them. We've got the 200, 400 blind level. So the stage of the tournament where things start to get a little bit serious because you've survived the early stages. Hopefully you've got some chips.
I'm sorry, I'm being an emotional wreck. I didn't quite catch what we're looking at here. Can you bring me up to speed again?
Yes, Kara, it's the multi-table tournament.
Is it?
It's
That's
a
good to
rebuy
know.
tournament, yes.
Okay.
But I think we're out of the rebuy phase now, and so the tournament's getting serious. It's now a freeze out. Once they lose their chips, they're gone.
Okay. We had 48 original runners. We now have 13. Unlucky 13.
So we're across two tables. So actually getting towards the final stages, in fact. Top 5 will win prizes.
Ooh, ah. There we go. Oh, we see the ladies there in the big blind. Unfortunately, they've got nothing to go up against. They're probably not going to get paid, but they do take down the blinds, which are not bad. 600 chips at this.
Oh.
At this stage.
Brilliant, you're talking.
You poor thing. Your throat must be terribly sore with all the commentating and
doing some work.
all the working that
James
you've been
Bradley
doing.
did a show on his own the other night.
Really?
I don't know why I'm whining about.
Wow.
And
They
when
didn't
the
call me.
show started, the presenters all did it on their own.
Oh, I know that is true.
I'm a wuss.
No.
Wow.
Look at that, King Queen up against King Queen. 80 Babes has and they're, my goodness, they're nearly exactly the same as well in terms of suit. It's odd. Odd indeed, and Pool 8 Ball has decided that's strong enough to go all in. Will 80 Babes also? Yeah, there you go. And it will be a split pot.
Chop-a-lopper.
Yep, split that one right down the middle, and there you go.
Well, I love getting to this point in a tournament, last two tables.
Yeah, me too. It's always interesting to see how people do change gears, and I think the fact that is that we've been getting a lot of emails about that question.
Mm-hmm.
When do you change gears? How do you change gears? What are the specifics for doing it?
will-
So here, hopefully, we will see some
I
of
will
that.
give you as much advice as I can, boys and girls, you know that.
You're a giver.
But I am a giver. Ask my wife. But what I would say, don't have one. What I would say is that it's a very difficult subject to give specifics on. It's very difficult to say put in a book. I'm talking about a TV show because a lot of it is judgment. Don't panic. I'm going to give you some specifics. We've already done quite a few. There are tips that you can give.
Yeah.
But it does come down to judgment, and you will only get that through experience because what we're talking about is making moves, looking for opportunities to pick up chips, and the right time and the right players to do that against will come down to your judgment. Lots of factors to consider when you do it. Stack size is possibly the most important one when you get to the middle to late stage of the tournament. Stack size becomes more important than cards. I'll say that again. Stack size is more important than your cards.
It's true, because how people respond to you has a lot to do with your stack size.
Yeah.
You can bully people. You have enough to have fold equity. You can make nice large bets with fold equity.
Yeah.
See, look at me. I know all the terms.
I know you know.
Amazing.
Well, you've picked up the concepts, and the gap that you have at the moment is knowing the stuff and actually doing it.
I know. Applying it, I find difficult.
Well, it is difficult. Let's not make any bones about it, because it takes. You know, I've said this a couple of times tonight, guys. It does take courage. Let's not underestimate it. You are doing something that, if you studied to play poker well, is contrary to what you've been told. which is you're putting your money into the middle with bad cards.
Yeah, and
So-
that is quite scary.
So it can be scary.
Putting your money into the middle with good cards can be scary as well.
Hey, this whole business is scary.
Just a little.
But look, you're in a tournament. What's the worst that can happen?
You could go
Let's
out.
break this down. You could go out. That is the worst that can happen.
That would
Well,
make you have to stop playing.
I hate to have to shock you, boys and girls, but most of the tournaments you enter, you're going to go out. The best, pick a great tournament player, the best tournament player in the world. Most of the tournaments he enters, he'll go out. In fact, most of the tournaments he enters, he won't make the money. So let's all cathartically together get over this fear of going out. It happens. It is a fact of life. It happens a lot. You should not be scared of going out. What you should be scared of is not having enough chips. Because the one thing that guarantees you going out is not having enough chips.
Yeah.
So let's think about the risk that you're making and let's reframe the problem, shall we, together, you and I.
I like the way you're thinking.
If you sit there and you don't, quote, take a risk, you don't make a move, if you sit there, you are guaranteed to go out. You're guaranteed to go out because the blinds will eat you up. And all of you guys that are emailing in saying you get short stacked, or Kara Scott who says she gets short stacked,
Definitely.
it's because you're not making the right moves early enough. In your heads, you're seeing it as taking a risk, but by not making a move earlier, you're taking a bigger risk, which is that you will definitely be eliminated. If you make a move on a pot, you may or may not be eliminated. It may come off, it may not come off. If you don't make any moves, you'll definitely be eliminated because the blinds will get you.
This is true.
So
It's
we need to
difficult.
think about this problem differently. And it's not difficult. It's difficult because you haven't done it. Guys, this is why you're struggling to make moves in tournaments or change gears. It's because you're not familiar with it. There are few people who learn poker, and there are a few who this comes very naturally for. And actually, they have the opposite problem. They need to learn not to play lots of cards. They need to rein themselves in. So there are a few, and I'm sure some of you out there will play with them, who are very aggressive just by nature. That's what they get their kicks out of in poker, is moving their chips around and making bluffs.
Yeah.
For the rest of us, and I would put myself in your camp, Care, and a lot of the emailers' camps, when I learned the game, I learned how to play solid. I thought, right, this is the right way to play. This is what I do with this pair. This is what I do with ace-king. And I was the same as you guys. I had to learn to loosen up. I still think, if anything, I could loosen up slightly in tournaments. I'm probably still a better cash game player than tournament player. But it can be done. You just have to make yourself do it. Get out of that comfort zone. Push yourself to do it. Enter tournaments which are a buy-in where you're more comfortable, say a lower tournament, and then experiment.
I've done that. I find it easier to do at home in the privacy of my own home.
I bet you, when you do it, you still play the same way. I bet you still don't change the way you play.
No, I haven't, though. Actually, I have tried making some moves. I have tried being a little bit crazy and whatnot, and it often doesn't work. And that's a good lesson for me, and then it doesn't work.
You need to try things, because without trying things, you won't know what works and what doesn't work. And your judgment about when you can move at a pot and when you can't move at a pot, when you can move pre-flop and when you can't, will only improve by doing. That's the only way it will improve. I can teach you stuff, other people can teach you stuff, books, etc., can help you, but in terms of you executing all of this, it's like, oh, we're off. We're off to the other table in the MTT, just to give you a little bit of contrast. And that little change is very big. I was just saying, you can read all the books in the world, and we'd recommend that you do.
It's always a good idea, isn't it?
I've seen emails and I've seen posts on the forum which say, that there's a conflict between reading books. There's some sort of argument. Which is more important, reading books or experience? Reading books or experience? Both. They're both important.
Different ways of gaining information, and really, you should take every chance you have to gain some information.
Well, it's like, how do we do anything in life? How do you... if you want to be, I think the analogy I used online was, if you want to be an open heart surgeon, you don't just go into an operating theatre and start poking around.
True.
Right?
Just getting a bit of experience.
Getting a bit of experience. By the same token, if you spend 4 years reading books about open heart surgery, can you be an open heart surgeon? No, because you haven't done it.
Yeah.
So you'll be confronted by the situation and you won't be able to put your knowledge into practice because you haven't done it. So you must do both.
This is true. I'm
So
all
it
with
is
you on that.
analysis, learning and study, plus experience, boys and girls. And when we're talking about loosening up in a tournament, making moves in a tournament, you're asking me how you do that, when you do that. You must try it. You must try it and keep trying it. And when it goes wrong, you mustn't then write it off. If you try a move, like I gave you a little move to try tonight in the big centre, I didn't know if it was going to work or not. But the key thing is, and I don't know whether it did, the key thing is whether it works or not, you should still try it again, because you haven't exhausted it by doing it once. So what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to experiment.
That's true, that's true. You might not want to do it, you know, when you're on television. Maybe you do, we'll see.
We'll see.
Inviting a hailstorm of criticism, you never know.
See, when I'm in a multi-table tournament, I cringe when I see folds to the big blind.
Really?
Well, somebody's missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
There's 900 chips in the middle, there for the taking. Somebody should try and take them.
And the most aggressive person often wins at this point, because the cards aren't always going to be guaranteed to be great.
No, I mean, you know, we're not saying the cards aren't important. Of course, if the money goes in, you know, if you get great cards, that's going to help you. If you get bad cards, it's not going to help you. What I'm talking about is, let's bring it all the way back to basics so that we have a context. Let's accept luck has nothing to do with poker. Because if we all play poker forever, we'll all get good hands and bad hands. We'll all get luck and we'll all get bad beats. That's why bad beats are boring, because we'll all get them.
Yep.
So some people make a lot of money out of poker, make a living from it. Other people go broke playing poker, right?
Yes, this is true.
So what's the difference? The difference is that good players win chips that their cards don't give them an expectation to win.
Yeah, that I find to be one of the most difficult things to do.
We'll get you there, Cara.
We'll get me there.
And the rest of the viewers, we will get you
Together
all
we
there.
will get there.
Together we will get there.
Well, I suppose as a step for me to actually be getting there, let's go and take a look at my Beat the Presenter tournament. And
we'll
you can
talk about
show
other stuff,
me...
but we'll
of course.
keep this theme as well, yeah?
Yeah. You can show me and point out exactly where I did wrong. So let's take a look. Now, maybe before we start, we should also explain the move that you told me I should make. Now, you said if I'm in late-ish position, I should try making a move despite what my cards are.
Yeah, the key thing was, in this move, was what I said to you was, I want you to do something premeditated.
Right.
I want you to, before the hand starts, before you see your cards, or as you see your cards, I want you to decide you're going to...
I forgot that bit.
Cool.
That was the key bit, huh? No wonder it didn't work.
No, that wasn't... That won't affect whether it works or not. That was just to try and get you out of your comfort zone. Because when you're playing a tournament, good tournament players will do it like that.
Yeah.
Good tournament players will think, this is an opportunity for me, because I know the blinds don't defend their blinds very much.
Sorry, that was a big raise of 140 from each of them. Well, a raise and a bet and a call.
Big hand, first hand of the tournament, kings and ace king.
I had Jack 10, didn't quite stand up.
No, you were crushed here.
I was crushed, but at least I knew that and I put it down.
Well, Manor has made a dodgy call, I think, with ace king.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, he can let it go, and he's fine. If he thinks he's got the best hand, he should raise. It's that simple, I think. Because of this, because Stances is going to bet again, presumably.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And again, I got not a bad hand. So I thought, well, maybe.
Now, this is a hand that I saw when you played, and it's a very interesting hand, isn't it?
If you say so, you're the expert.
You must think it's an interesting hand. You've got Queen 10 on the button.
Yeah. And I thought, well, I could try steal. Someone's limped in. I've got one limper.
Yeah.
Now, what shall I do?
So do you try to steal?
From what I remember, I did. See, I'm not good at remembering what I did.
Yeah.
Okay, I limped in. Sorry.
It's all right. I apologise. I like trying to steal there. You've got the button. You've got a limper. If you get called, you've got position after the flop.
Okay. I've hit middle pair.
But there's nothing wrong with limping in that situation. Either's good. You've hit middle pair. They both check. Nobody's raised before the flop.
Yeah.
So you're thinking you could have the best hand.
I am. I am indeed.
I don't know why I'm telling you what you're thinking. Probably easier if you do that.
No, but you're right. And I bet 45. Oh, yes, because that was just over half the pot. I think it was 2/3 of the pot. So I thought, okay. That's what I will bet.
So far, so good.
Yeah. That's
and Charlotte
called.
calls with a pair of eights. And we'll see why Charwell called in a minute.
Because he...
Charwell, if you'd like to email about this hand, it'd be interesting. Poker being like, you bet again, which I think is good.
Wow.
And he makes a big check raise bluff.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes in poker, you have to say, that was a good play, well done.
That was a good play, Charwell, well done. You definitely got me there. I had the better pair, but I believed you had the ace or something better than I did.
Well, as I said to you at the time, I would have played your hand the same way.
Right.
Charwell's timing was good. Probably because you didn't raise before the flop, he would have thought she can't have that great a hand, I guess. But he was just taking a chance that you didn't have that much of a hand. His check raise on the turn obviously looks very strong. And the interesting thing is that I'd like to know from Charwell is, was that premeditated? Because I think it probably was.
Yeah.
I think he had a little think on the flop, and I think on the flop what he thought was, I'm going to try a check raise on the turn. So it'd be interesting to hear from him. I think it's an interesting hand.
Okay.
But you didn't do anything wrong in the hand.
No? All right. I like it when that gets said. Generally, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Queens for Famana.
Famana.
Have you seen The Man with Two Brains?
Yeah, but it was quite a long time ago.
His name is Dr. Huffafa.
No.
Or something like that. And he always corrects people. No, it's Huffafa. Very childish.
It's irritating when people don't get your name right. I understand.
Cara, how can you say?
Oh, stop it. I'll drop my microphone just in protest there.
What percentage of people call you Cara?
I would say probably about 60%, 70%.
That must be very, very
Probably
boring.
90% when they first meet me.
I mean, that is the equivalent of people calling me Neek, isn't it?
It is. Nike.
Yeah.
Call you Nike instead. It just makes no sense.
You've got my sympathies.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a bit irritating. I think has a fairly good hand there, but will he get any action on this? I don't know. As we're looking at this, shall we also, as you're riffling through the chips, take a look at some of our emails for the clinic?
Well, they put these here. I don't know why.
It's hard not
they
to play with them.
not to play with them. Yes, we're in the clinic.
Shall we?
If you're just joining us.
Ah, yes. The poker clinic is open. The doctor is in, or the priest is in, or the gardener is in, depending on which mixed metaphor you want to pick up on from tonight.
What it all amounts to is, we want you to email in with your weaknesses, your problems. What do you do badly at poker? What's really vexing you? What's costing you chips?
Yep. And we're going to try to help you with
I've already admitted 2 of mine.
Yep, and you're watching a bunch of mine right now. And if you didn't realise, I'm sorry I didn't point it out, but I'm Great Scott there in seat 2. That is me. So you can take a look and see how I play, and we will be commentating on everyone else's play as well. Well, from an aha, got 270 chips out of that. That is not so bad.
Nothing to be
sneezed at. Yeah, from a hard. Right, here's an email from Nellie. Nellie says, "You think it's a D, Nellie?"
Yes, I do.
It's kind of text speakish in the email
I
style.
think it's the Nellie.
It might be the Nellie. I wonder if I can email him back and ask what the whole plaster under the eye thing is all about, because I never understood that.
If you don't get it, you're just not street.
I'm just not street, I think. I'm too Canadian to be street. Right, here we go. Email from Nellie. He says, "Hi there, may I say what a wonderful show?" Yes, you may, Nellie. Feel free. He says, "You taught me all I know, thank you." You're welcome, although that's obviously not directed at me. What I'd like help with is, I've won 10 multi-table tournaments, finished on numerous final tables, and in the money. What I find is, after winning a multi-table tournament, finishing on the final table, I tend to let it go to my head, and then I lose for the next week or so before I start winning again. Could you tell me a way to rein my game in after winning a tourney? Your help would be gratefully appreciated. Oh, and Nick?
Yes.
Who's Claire Rayner?
She's a very beautiful, sexy woman.
With good hair?
Luxuriant bouffant, yes.
Okay, because he does say that your hair looks rather Claire Rayner, should I? Didn't know what that was all about.
Yes, so what he means is my hair looks like Claire Rayner's hair. He doesn't mean my hair looks like Claire Rayner.
Like a beautiful bouffant woman.
That would be weird.
That is weird, isn't it?
I do have a lot of hair at the moment. I'm actually getting it cut tomorrow.
I was going to try and do the...
For those of you who need Nick's hair updates, which some of them do.
I know, they live for this sort of thing.
Weird. You were going to try and do what?
I was going to try and do the steal here, but then...
Sorry, I just called you honey.
Yeah, you did, didn't
you?
I
thought we were married. It's the whole Mr. and Mrs.
yes,
thing.
Darling.
Yeah.
I was going to try and steal there, but Charwell raised and then up your ante.
Are you going to try and steal out the big blind?
Yeah.
Look at you. Look at you. Your steely self.
I was thinking about it.
Cool.
But then I didn't because my game plan was to put it down if someone else raised.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you. I just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So how does one rein in their game after a big win? Because I've done this as well. I make a big win. I'm exuberant. I dance. I sing. I lose terribly.
Well, the interesting thing about doing tonight and getting people to tell us their weaknesses is, I think that one of the things is people will get a lot of benefit from actually admitting what they are. Because once you admit that something's causing you a problem, you'll focus on it and you're halfway to dealing with it.
True.
Because next time that behaviour occurs, you'll know what you're doing, as opposed to just carrying out on autopilot that behaviour. Look at this steal out of the small block. I'm very excited.
Oh, yeah.
You've been called in 2 places, unlucky. And not only that, he's flopped it straight on you.
Yeah.
Hey,
And I think I've got middle pair. That's
Yeah.
not bad. That's not bad.
Did you bet it?
Oh, obviously.
Well,
Let's
look,
wait and see, because
Tara,
I say that,
look,
but I don't remember.
I like trying to steal from the small blind with 1 limper.
Yeah?
I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
I like the fact that you've made a continuation bet. You've thought about it for a long time, which is a
That was me typing it in.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought I typed it in, but then I hadn't clicked in the box, and so I had to go back and click in the box, and
Obviously, you've run into a straight here.
Yeah, so I have to put it away.
But if
Yeah.
that 10 of spades is a 9 of hearts, for example,
Yeah.
you're going to win this pot.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've run into a hand there. I don't think there's anything wrong with the play. And the great thing is that you've tried different things. You've now tried stealing out the small blind.
Yeah. Didn't work, but at least I tried.
At least you tried.
And at this point, people in chat box started saying to me, boy, it's a good thing you started with 2,000 chips. Oh, cheeky.
They're being cheeky.
Cheeky.
That's
Very
harsh,
cheeky.
isn't it?
Oh, cheeky.
There is another concept to throw in. I'm sorry to throw a lot of concepts at
No,
you.
do.
But, you're now at a point in the tournament where you've had to throw away 2 or 3 hands, right? I don't think you've showed down a hand yet, have you?
No.
I would argue now that your steals are less likely to succeed
So I need to show down a hand when I've done it without it being a steal. Yeah.
because
I've been
you
involved
don't have
in
as
too
many.
many
You don't have
pots.
as many chips, and they've seen you throw away cards.
Yeah.
And it's not rational; it's just emotional. The other players emotionally will see you as weak,
True.
and that's nothing to do with you.
Oh, no, goodness, no.
No, it hasn't. It would be anybody
you're
in
right.
that situation in a tournament where
Yeah.
they'd had to throw away 2 or 3 hands.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you should shut up shop entirely. Doesn't mean that. It's just these are the things you need to think about, guys, when you're in a tournament situation. It's the ever-changing how you're viewed at the table.
Gotcha.
Will we talk about something else then?
Well, we were talking about how to not go on kind of a reverse tilt. How to go on reverse tilt when you've
yeah,
won.
I didn't answer his question. Interesting one. I actually play better after a win.
Really?
Yeah,
Because you've got that confidence
I have that
in the, yeah.
confidence in it. Makes me make some of the moves I don't make when I'm not playing so well. I think that the most obvious answer would be to take a break, wouldn't it? If you know you play badly after you've
Yeah.
won,
It's hard to, though. You feel that kind of buzz, but I suppose if you know you're going to
if
possibly
you know you're not going to
lose.
play well, I
Yeah.
think it's probably easier to do that than it is to change how you are after a win. Why not? You know, you've won, be satisfied with it, take a break, go and call some people, tell them.
Brag a bit.
Why not?
Feel better about yourself.
Something we don't do enough in poker all life, by the way.
Wow, I just pushed Furman Hana off a pot where he had the better of it.
Well played.
Thank you.
The power of the bet and also your position, because you've got position on it.
Yep.
And this is one of the key factors, people. We're talking tonight lots of different things, but one of the things that's come out a lot that you all clearly want some more guidance on is loosening up.
Yeah.
When I talk about loosening up and finding opportunities to do that, position is massive in that.
Yeah,
If
because
you're
you
going to
don't
make
want to leave
plays at
yourself.
pots, you want to do far, far more of them in position.
Yeah.
And if you see an opportunity to get heads up with somebody that you've got position on,
Yeah.
you should be much more likely to take that regardless of your cards, because pushing them off the pot after the flop is so much easier. And that doesn't matter how good or bad you are at poker, it doesn't matter how good or bad your opponent is at poker.
Yeah.
It's one of the incontrovertible facts of life and hold'em, is that if you've got position on somebody, you've got them in a world of hurt, basically.
I think you're right. And position makes a person, well, it makes me feel a lot more confident to actually make some of those moves.
Yeah.
And not be quite so scared about it. Interesting. Okay, well, here's another email. This one's from Mike. Mike says, "Hi guys, great show as always. I've been playing poker for just over a year and have watched the show for months, but this is my first email to the show." Well, first of all, Mike, thank you very much for emailing in. We love it when people do that.
We love the new emailers.
And welcome, and thank you very much for watching. Mike says, "I play a lot of sit and goes online and consistently make the money. However, my weakness is in heads-up play. When I make the last two, I finish second 80% of the time. I know the main advice is aggression, but I rarely win, and when I do win, I feel it's down to luck. I'm making a profit from the sit and goes I play, but the difference in prize money between first and second place means I could be making a greater profit if I could just improve my heads-up play. So any advice is greatly received." And then he says something very sweet. He says, "Cheers, guys. You legends. Why can't you two be on every night?" You know what? I agree.
If only we didn't work most nights as superheroes.
I know. Shush, that was a secret. You've given it away.
First rule of being a
Mr. and
superhero.
Mrs. Poker.
Mr. and Mrs. Poker. That's very nice. Thank you, Mike. We like doing the show together, so it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Same advice, Mike. I hope you've been watching tonight. Same advice as applies to multi-table tournaments generally and short-handed play specifically. In terms of improving your heads-up play, which is to do it more. Go away and practice.
Yeah.
Play money. Online you can play heads-up matches on almost every internet site as far as I know. So go and play some heads-up matches. You can play them for money if you like and if you're comfortable doing that. But you can also play money heads-up matches.
Yeah.
And get more experience. And don't do what you always do, because obviously that's not working because you're losing. Try different things when you're learning and make notes and analyse and ask other people. Kara Scott Muck's Ace-8 to a raise. Nice to see.
Thank you very much.
Classic.
Well, Ziddy, I respect Ziddy as a player.
I've mentioned this many times before. When Casper and I learned poker together, because we didn't have any other friends, we played an awful lot of heads-up matches together.
I bet.
And we found that when we ended up playing tournaments live in casinos, our heads-up games were often better than people had been playing for years. This is true. I steamrolled my first heads-up match I ever had because I practiced heads-up matches for hours with Cass.
Yeah.
And the guy I was playing, even though he'd been playing for years, had probably only played 4 or 5 heads-up matches in his life. So
people just don't play them.
Practice pays, experience pays, particularly with heads-up because it's so different.
Yeah.
The other advice would be, the only good literature on heads-up that I've seen is Harrington on Hold'em Volume 2 has a very, very good section on heads-up, no limit. I would recommend you go and get that right now. And I won't go into general strategy about heads-up because there's too much of it, but as a broad brush point, usually the more aggressive player wins. Bear in mind, and you can do this at home, deal out lots of Hold'em hands.
Yep.
Very rarely is a good Hold'em hand dealt, and if you've got 2 players, statistically, most of the time both players will have a hunk of junk. So the person that's most aggressive will usually win.
Yeah.
So if you're losing at heads up, you're probably not being aggressive enough. But yeah, go and do some reading from Harrington and then just get down to it, Mike.
Yeah, and you know what? Don't feel bad if you feel like you're winning because of luck. There's nothing wrong with that. When you're heads up, a lot of the time, you do have to see what comes down on the flop, on the turn, on the river. And if you hit a river, then great. And if you don't, unlucky. But it does even out. Luck evens out.
Luck evens out.
So don't feel bad if you're winning because of luck.
You're right to bring it up because the luck is never higher than in heads up.
Yeah.
In Hold'em. So bear that in mind. Yeah. I feel good, Kara. I feel like we're doing good tonight.
I do as well. We are poker
clinic.
Superheroes. Or you are, and I'm your trusty sidekick.
What I like about it is that the viewers are
trusting
involved because we're no. That we're sharing knowledge and that they're telling us where there's a problem.
Yes. And we're lancing the boil,
and
as you said.
And the very interesting thing about boil lancing, the very interesting thing is that similar problems are occurring quite a lot. There are certain things that people do struggle with, and that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah.
FC St Pauli.
Yeah.
Raises with the ace.
Well, it was a very interesting table to sit down at. I'll say that, because obviously we're going to have to come back and watch the rest of this after the break as well, but just as an overview.
Yeah.
$29.60 up there in the final seat is a first-time TV table
Welcome.
player.
Welcome
So thank
aboard,
you very much
you
for.
numbered person. Now, this is an interesting hand, isn't it?
It was an interesting hand, yeah. I thought to myself, you know what? I've got a pair, and I'm gonna try and steal the blinds with this, because at least it's something.
You've got a limper.
I've got a limper, but they're just a limper. They've not raised it. So here I am raising. 3 times a big blind, as is standard, and then I'm going to wait and see what happens and see if anyone calls it or if anyone re-raises me. If anyone had re-raised me, I would have put it down. As it was, Up Your Ante just called, and he's only got ace-9.
Now here's where you needed a bit of aggression.
Okay, the pot's 300.
And what are you thinking?
I'm thinking typing in the box. What shall I type in the box?
Do you have any doubt about betting, or are you always going to bet?
No, I was always going to bet. 2/3 of the pot I bet in.
And off he goes.
And that's mine. And at that point he said, "I don't like you anymore," in the chat box. And he was just kidding, obviously. But
no.
He thought I'd bluffed him because I'd mucked my cards.
At Hold'em, when you play Hold'em, it's better to be feared than loved.
Ah, yes.
You usually don't want people to call. Well,
True.
interestingly, when you play Omaha high-low, it's sometimes better to be loved than feared. Sometimes you want to encourage people in the pot. That's rarely the case at Hold'em. At Hold'em, you want people to not like you, be scared of you.
Fair enough. I did say to Up Your Ante, I hadn't bluffed him on that. And see, look, he said he'd wait and see the replay. I stand by
So now
it.
what are you saying?
What?
Well, you did bluff him.
Well, I had a pair of 6s. I had a better hand than he did.
Oh, well, in that sense, you didn't bluff
I
him.
had the better hand.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't say I had a large pair.
You're starting to sound like a poker player.
Yeah.
And interestingly, one of the other factors, and I'm sorry guys to keep throwing stuff at you, there are a lot of factors in making moves in a tournament. One of the big factors is the texture of the flop. What kind of a flop is it? There, you had a very good flop to bet on because it had 1 high card, 2 raggy low cards, and no flush draw possibilities. That kind of flop, it's very difficult to call bets if you don't have the high card paired.
Yeah.
So to give you a specific example, in that situation you had king 7-2. Unless someone else has a king, it's very, very difficult for them to play on in the hand.
Yep.
So the texture of the flop. Let's say you've got your pair of 6s, and the flop is 8, 9, 10 of hearts.
Right. See, now that would have been a different kettle of fish.
That's much harder. Probably you should bet anyway because the opposite point works, which is it's probably a scary board for them too.
Yeah.
But the point stands that they are more likely to have connected to a board like that.
Yeah.
So you must consider the texture of the flop when you want to make a move after the flop. If you consider the texture of the flop when you're making a move before the flop, then you are very clever. That is a unique talent, and you should market it.
Now, Up Your Ante.
Good to see. Are you?
Thank you.
Are you pleased you've made some? You've been playing very aggressively, and you haven't really had any cards.
Thank you. You know what? I was trying to follow. I'd written down the note on my piece of paper in front of me that you had given me to say, try to make some moves and how to do it with the latest position, making a raise.
Yeah.
If I'm called, bet into them, and if I'm raised, maybe re-raise it, unless it's a really scary flop.
And we said, didn't we, before you started that, and this goes for you guys out there, make these moves when you can afford them to go wrong.
Yeah, that's what you did say.
So.
Very key point.
And this is one of the curious things about tournament strategy, in that people mainly advocate playing tight early on. That's true to a certain extent, but at the same time, early on you can afford to take a few more chances, because if they go wrong, you're still competitive in the tournament. Later on, you're making all-in chances. So, it's an interesting concept, but I just want you to, and everybody out there, to not be afraid to make moves and try to make them when they don't put your tournament in jeopardy.
Freedom from fear.
Freedom from fear. I'm liberating the masses.
You poker guru. I like it.
And then they all have to have sex with me and carry my children, and we all kill ourselves in a vat of cocaine.
Nice.
That's what usually happens, isn't it, with these cults?
Really
They start off very promising with a lot of positives, and then they end up with the
horribly wrong
alcohol and tobacco people bursting in with a tank.
Yeah, it's just horribly, horribly wrong. There we go. Now we are going to take a look at some more emails for our...
We're going to freeze that, aren't we?
We're going to freeze that. We will come back to that.
Yes.
Yes, so don't worry. It is frozen. We will come back to that. But it is also the poker clinic, and it's very important that we carry on with our
confessional.
advice. It is the confessional as
Father
well.
Wealthall is here.
It's just so wrong, isn't it, people? It is so, so wrong. Here we go. Here's an email from Juice. He says, hello, guys. First of all, the obligatory great show as always. Well,
Right, well, that doesn't sound
thanks very
sincere.
much.
I don't know why we're doing this email.
Because
I don't think he means that.
But if he's taken the time to email in, I think we should read it out.
Right.
You just really don't look happy. There we go. He says, I see that a lot of players in the poker world seem to have a background in backgammon. Do you think learning and studying backgammon can help your poker game? And what about other games or forms of poker besides Texas Hold'em? Can they help improve your game, in your opinion? I ask this because I have just purchased some backgammon books by Harrington on Hold'em co-author Bill Roberti. Well, being a backgammon player myself, I think yeah, you can. Some of the skills do translate. I think you're probably more likely to find your skills translate from Omaha and other forms of poker than from backgammon. But a lot of the same things with nerve, with being able to calculate odds, with being able to see a whole board in your head the same way you would see a table and how people are acting and reacting to you. Always that. Certainly that's going to bear you off really well. So what do you think?
Oh, this is your one. I don't know.
You're not going to answer that whatsoever,
No, I just
are
don't
you?
know. I don't know. I do not play backgammon.
Well, there you go.
There is crossover.
There's
He's
definitely
right.
crossover.
Backgammon players become poker players, so there must be some.
Oh gosh, yeah. There's total crossover, especially when you look at things like odds and betting, gambling, all of that. That's definitely there as well. Yeah. So yeah, I'd say you can read those books, and if they help you, that's fantastic. And if they don't, well, it's not going to hurt, is it? You spend a bit of time reading a few books. It's the summertime. Take them down to the beach if you're lucky enough to live by a beach.
It's not going to hurt.
It's not going to hurt. Okay, here you go, Father Tim. Here's one for you from Tim Hull. Tim Hull says, Dear Father Nick, forgive me, for I have sinned. I often lay down the best hand when faced with a big raise, especially in cash games. I play with my bankroll, but still lose my bottle. I would also like to confess to ogling some of my female work colleagues and stealing the occasional Mars bar from the corner shop, while 10 Hail Marys cover it. Go in peace.
No, it will not. I require your firstborn.
He is that sort of leader,
firm
figure.
but fair. Firm but fair. You lay down the best time and face with a big raise. You know what, Tim? I don't think that's that big a sin.
It's not, is it?
It depends on the situation.
I've done it myself.
We've all done it. It depends on the situation, but often it's right to fold, even if you have the best hand, which sounds a bit Irish, but the great Amarillo Slim made this quote his own. If you can't fold the best hand, you can't play. I think what he actually said is, if you show me somebody that can't fold the best hand, I'll show you someone that can't play.
Like it.
Sometimes you throw away the best hand. The question is, when you make those folds, are they profitable in the long run? And it's very difficult, it depends on the situation. But if somebody's raised you in poker, 9 times out of 10, they're showing you strength.
Yeah.
They're not bluffing, in fact. Sometimes you're being bluffed, sometimes you get bluffed. And, you know, like when Charwell raised bluffed you, sometimes you have to say, you know what, that's a great bet. I can't call that bet. You may be bluffing me. Well done, you.
Yeah.
That is part of the game. If it is a long-term problem and you're not calling them, then you just need to make that adjustment, Tim. You just need to, you know, press call like that. But you need to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
If you're folding too many hands, then you need to do it. But I reckon it's probably not as big a mistake and not costing you as much as you think. But do your Hail Marys anyway, because the Mars bar theft is out of order.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing that. Right now, not only are people emailing in with questions for you, but they're
Brilliant.
helping each other,
That's
which is
what
what
I
I
want.
like.
That's
Community.
what we want.
I like it. Here's one from Stephen. Stephen says, Hi again, I just wanted to send another quick email and make a suggestion to the previous emailer who said he had trouble slowing down after building a stack. This used to be a problem for me as well. And one very good idea that helped me improve is putting an elastic band on my wrist. If I played a hand that wasn't premium, I would snap the band on my wrist. By doing this, your brain associates playing bad cards with pain. Thanks, Stephen. P.S. Very good show today. Well done. You know what? I think I've advocated this myself because it's a negative reinforcement, isn't it? So I think it's a great idea.
It is a great idea. Same as the, I can't remember, I'm really sorry, whoever it was. Is it Snowblind or is it putting the money in the jar? Do something that makes your brain register either good or bad behaviour. Definitely, good ideas, guys.
I think so too, and thanks for sending them in. Yeah, now, not only that, but we also have more of our phone in, so let's go to that, see if he's there. And on the phone again, we have Roy the Boy Brindley. Now, you're going to be at the Ladbroke Millions, I believe, this week. Is that right?
Yeah, indeed. The annual feast, which goes out on Sky Sports. Maybe my last comments I was being a bit critical of people. You have to say, and I'm a Ladbrokes man, they are adding $1 million to the poker million, which is not to be laughed at. I played in late night poker last week, and Party both did add $90,000 to that. And similarly, William Hill last year in the Grand Prix, it was $150,000 added to the prize pool. So I might be a bit too critical, but certainly as far as our stateside friends go, I've not seen an American tournament yet with money added to it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've always hoped that more poker stuff, especially in America now that it's taken off, would be sponsored, by outside companies that had nothing to do with poker, and that money would come into the game that way. But it doesn't seem to have happened. Well,
there is the legal issue there that online poker is essentially illegal in the States. Hence, most of the firms that service the internet in America are based offshore Costa Rica, Gibraltar, or somewhere. So they can't actually be seen to be sponsoring poker. But the World Series is sponsored by a beer company. ESPN are paying a lot of money for the rights to the TV and sending it out live, and who's getting the profits? There's just something wrong there along the line.
Yeah, there is definitely something wrong there, but there's a lot of people playing poker on the internet. It's a huge booming industry, and a lot of people that email and text in here to this show seem to have some concerns about not even just the legal issues, but sometimes like they're sharing accounts. Some people are, or they're, everyone's worried about bots being on the internet poker as well. Do you run across anything like that?
Oh, that's one of my old chestnuts. That's one of my favourites. Sharing accounts online. Well, there's two things there. First of all, you can keep all the notes in the world, which you should do when you're playing online. And suddenly you can't decide whether this guy's playing very differently to what he's been playing and what your notes say. And it turns out basically that the person you're playing is not the person that account is showing. Now, where do you go with this? You can't stop people doing it, but a lot of these, and you can understand it as well, because sites encourage these frequent player points and whatever, and it makes a lot of sense for someone to share an account because they're going to get more points and more bonuses. But when some of these sites puts leagues on, and they're down to people making final tables of tournaments and stuff. I know a particular site that looked at this, and a couple of in particular players were found to be playing 22 hours a week. Well, we know this is not physically possible, but on the back of that, they've won this, or won that, or made enough final tables to reach the final 10 of a free roll. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I just really don't like. I couldn't do it personally. I think it's not appropriate behaviour. In fact, there's a book just out called Swimming with the Devilfish, and in there a player says that he played me for $10,000 heads up, and he beat me. And I've not read it, but I've got a couple of phone calls and explained how easy it was to beat me. Well, the ironic thing was that the day and time this $10,000 heads up match was supposedly took place, said player was actually in Barcelona in a tournament, and it was his friend playing for him. And me personally, I take a bit of offence to someone claiming to have done this and done that when it's their friend playing. And it's one you can't police, you can't govern, but I think a lot of sites encourage this kind of behaviour because they want frequent player points, they want people to stay on the site, and when they know it's going on, I think that's when they should step in and say, hang on a second, there's something fraudulent here.
And do you worry about, as Kara said, bots on the internet or any other kind of cheating rule, or do you think, broadly speaking, it's quite a safe environment?
Well, it's very simple. If you're not happy with something, you have any questions yourself, quite simply don't play. That's the way I see it. It's absolutely nonsensical for any site to have any issues at all around the number generator. And people that I really, had marked down as intelligent and sensible people come back to me and often say, the number generator's wrong, or it's fixed, it's manufactured to make two big hand clashes. It's not these companies are making far too much money to be, the most remotest or slightest problem there with any issues whatsoever. But, I do maintain some sites are fully aware, and they know when someone's playing 22 hours a day for 7 days a week, that this guy cannot possibly survive on 2 hours sleep a day. that there is an issue there. So at the end of the month, don't put this guy forward and say he's the winning most tournament player on our site and what a great guy he is.
Right.
When you blame, it's not the case.
They do need to keep a closer eye on that, then I agree as well. Now, we have to let you go, but thank you so much for being here again this week and talking to us.
Thanks, Roy. It's really interesting stuff, mate.
Let's do politics next time, shall we?
Let's do that. Sort that out.
It's always a pleasure, and we'll be back after the break, everyone, so we'll see you soon. Hello and welcome back, and thanks for joining us for this, the final hour of our Poker Night Live.
Can it be true?
Can it be true? We're having a great time here. We're having
It's been a cracker. It's been a belter.
It's been a belter. Having a bit of a poker surgery, which I'm enjoying. Played a bit of Beat the Presenter Me, which we'll continue to show you. And I believe we have the final of the MTT as well.
Crikey, we'll never get it all in.
Lots to cram in. I don't know if we will, but we're going to try. We do have quite a few emails as well, so I'm going to be reading them so that you can peruse them at your leisure while we watch the Beat the Presenter.
If you're just joining us, where have you been? We've been doing Tell Us Your Weakness. Tell us the thing you do badly in poker. Be brave, come out to your fellow poker players and admit what you do wrong. I've admitted some of mine. We've been sharing. Kara's admitted some of hers. Been sharing. It's been cathartic. It's been good.
People are emailing in with other solutions to people's problems, saying, you know, they feel their pain, they've been there. It's a beautiful thing. In fact, I even began to cry a little bit earlier, but you'll see why later.
That was some other reason, though, wasn't it?
Another reason entirely.
If only we could do this forever.
If only we could, but we can't. We've only got an hour left tonight.
When do we get to do it again,
We get to do it again next Friday, so that's okay. Me and you.
Next Friday,
so that's all right. So until then,
we're
going to do... Oh, yes, it's in mine. My little heart's just pitter-pattering. Shall we do one email and then go to the Beat the Presenter?
Sure.
Let's do that.
Sure, you're in charge, whatever we...
I'm in charge.
Yes.
This is an email from Chris. Chris says, hi, guys. Hiya, Chris. My weakness comes in multi-table tournaments. See, lots of people have this. I usually play lower-level tourneys with around 500 to 700 players. Once I make it to the middle to late stage of a tourney, so around 150-ish people left, I'm usually well to average stacked. However, my problem is, by this stage, the blinds are going up quickly, and I tend to get involved with medium hands and risk chips, such as eights, pair of eights, pair of nines, ace-jack, although I usually play them from position. That's all right. I don't feel I can play tight at this stage, as the blinds are high and these are reasonable hands. This stage of the tourney is my real weak spot. I double up and go on to do well, or I bust out, and it's usually the latter. Great show, by the way, and that's from Chris. That doesn't sound so bad. He's playing...
I think that there's a kind of broader point to address, which is he's playing in, as we all do online, he's playing in tournaments with 500, 700 people.
Huge fields.
Now, if I put you in a room with 500 other people, big room obviously, not a lounge, like a hall or something.
Be smelly and close.
It just wouldn't work. If I put you in a hall or something with 500 people and I said one of you is going to win a tournament that we're all going to play, if you were surrounded by another 499 people, you would think, oh, I don't have much chance of that. That's what you'd think, because that's the reality of it. But because with poker we can only see 9 other people, and online you've got 9 other people in view, I don't think our brains fully understand how unlikely it is that we're going to win the tournament. It's actually your odds against to make decent money in a multi-table tournament. You can make a profit because in the long run, every so often you'll cash and you can make enough money. But when you enter one of these tournaments, you're massively odds against to come anywhere in it. Even if you're better than everyone else in the tournament, you're still massively odds against. If you're twice as good as them, you're 250 to 1, for goodness sakes. So, you have to view it as the expectation is that you'll go out. And when you email in and say, not you personally, Chris, but when in general we say that we've got a problem because we don't do so well in the middle to later stages of tournaments, if you're regularly getting to the middle of the later stages of tournaments, you're doing well, and you're only talking about small adjustments to go from there to cashing, actually. So let's all, not be too despondent because we haven't scored a multi-table tournament win recently. The fields are so big nowadays, it's really, really difficult to do. Chris, I hope you've been watching the show. I'm not going to repeat all of the advice about playing later stages. It doesn't sound like you're doing a huge amount wrong to me. Playing 8s and 9s in the later stages is not a bad idea. The only thing I would say about it is, if you're playing 8s and 9s when you've got quite a big stack, when you've got a middle-sized stack, you can get into trouble then, because if somebody comes over the top of you, you tend to have to throw them away and you can bleed off chips. So maybe think about that. Instead of thinking about, as we've been saying all night on this subject, instead of thinking about what cards you have, think about things like your position, your stack size, whose blinds can you steal, can you limp in, see a flop and then steal after the flop. Different things like that. We're looking for opportunities rather than just what hands we hold in the middle stage of the tournament. But yeah. I think that's why people probably think they're having more trouble with multi-table tournaments than they actually are, because it's very, very difficult to cash in them.
There's just so many people.
There's a lot of people. If you're entering 500-player tournaments, that's a lot of peeps to get rid of.
You're so street, innit? Now let's go back to
They
the
don't
beat
do
the
that at the
presenter.
end.
No, they
I'm
don't.
not straight at all.
You're so not straight.
Thank goodness I'm not attractive either.
Oh.
No, wait, that's...
Not
Back to our
even true.
tournament. Back to our tournament.
There we go. Great Scott has 8-10 on the button.
Quite a nice hand to have on the button.
Yeah.
You can try and steal the blinds, and if it goes wrong, you might hit a big hand.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was thinking. I hope I actually played that way. I can never honestly remember how I played, but that's exactly what I was thinking. I do recall that.
I mean, even this longer structure satellite is not a slow tournament. It's still going to be over in an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
So opportunities like this, when it's passed you on the button, I believe that you should be taking. You should try and take those blinds. Most of the time, you will be successful,
Yeah.
as it looks like you're going to be here.
I was not quite
Well
3
done,
times a
Kara
big
Scott.
blind. My maths is not so good.
Well, it doesn't have to be that.
That's
It has
all
to
right.
be. It just has to be a big enough bet
Yeah.
that
Fold equity.
yeah,
Yay.
people,
Gotta have
people
fold
will
equity.
fold unless they've got a good hand.
That's right. So I managed a steal from the button and recharged my chip stack just a little, so that's not so bad.
No, it's great.
Right, and
Any-
talking about stealing from the
Yes.
blind,
Oh,
I've
more
got an
emails.
email
They keep
about
coming.
stealing from. They do keep coming. So an email from Ian saying, "Hi guys, great show. Just listening to your comments about stealing blinds from limpers, and while I think it's a play that works, I think that it's very important not to overdo it. In fact, now Nick, you gave me this exact advice. No, you did. You gave me this exact
Yes.
advice. Don't overdo it because people won't continue to believe you." Now he says, maybe only 2 or 3 times in a game. I say this because I make a living playing sit and go tourneys online and specifically look out for habitual limp stealers. It's one of the first notes I make about a player because these guys are one of my main sources of funds.
Ah, this is very interesting.
This
from you.
is, yeah. He says there seems to be a large group of online players who love this play because they think it makes them look smart, and they make it at every available opportunity. The main problem with the play is that anyone who plays regularly knows exactly what you're doing after you've made it a couple of times, and then look out for opportunities to trap you. It's a play I like to use myself, but only use it very sparingly because it's so easy to lose chips with against someone who spotted what you're up to. Ah, that's an
Fascinating
interesting.
email.
Yeah.
The thing to say about poker, the reason it's the best game on the planet is for every strategy there is a counter strategy. For
True.
every move there is a counter move. And Ian's absolutely right. You never want to become predictable with anything in your
Exactly.
game. As I've said on the show before, if you ask me what type of players I like to play against, I like to play against predictable players.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're loose, I don't care if they're tight, I don't care if they're passive or aggressive. I want them to be predictable.
Yeah.
It's people that mix up their game that are hard to play against. So he's absolutely right.
Ooh, sorry, FC Paulie went all in there with King Queen. Hit a king
Well-
on the flop.
What we want is to get you and all of our viewers, what you're trying to do is get to a point where you've got lots and lots of different moves in your armoury,
Yeah.
and you can dispense them when the time is right.
Like
So
medicine.
yeah.
From the doctor. Sorry, go
Yeah.
on.
We should probably do this in uniforms later. And the key is to have all these moves in your armoury, and so you can use them, so you're not reliant on one technique. What Ian doesn't say, and maybe he'd like to email back, I can guess, but he doesn't. What he doesn't say is, what does he do with these naughty limp stealers?
Ah.
He says you can trap them. Does he mean that he plays a hand against them and then takes the money away on the flop, or does he mean that he comes over the top of them before the flop? I'd be quite interested
Yeah,
to know.
I'd be quite interested as well to know.
But I think the thing is, Ian, that you're absolutely right. If somebody's doing that a lot, you can pick up on it. But there aren't many players playing at that level of thinking that you've just demonstrated in your email. And for a lot of online games, you will have a lot of success raising limpers, definitely.
But watch out for players like Ian, who may just try to steal that from you.
Well, if they're all like Ian, Bunny, so.
Great email, Ian. Thank you so much for sending that in. It's always good to
Absolutely.
find out how people who are actually making a living from poker see these issues.
I'm sitting right here.
Well, another opinion is always a good thing, just to balance you out.
I don't
Not that
make,
you're
I don't make a
unbalanced.
living from playing poker anymore either, so I supplement my income. It's slightly different.
Yep.
Strong move from 29.60. He thinks his middle pair is probably going to be good, and he's right. So where are we? 40, 80 blinds. They're not too high yet.
Nope. It's a pretty tight table. But even that being said, as someone else in the chat box mentioned, there were chips flying everywhere, so it's not as tight as I've seen in the past.
No, it's not actually. When I glanced over when you were playing, I thought it wasn't quite as tight as some of the percentages.
Which is nice, because that can get a little bit tedious. You don't ever get to see a flop. It's, you know, whoever is aggressive enough takes the blinds, done. So yeah, it's nice to see a bit of movement here. Now, if you guys have any questions, please do get them into us here. If you want to speak to the doctor is in, the gardener is ready to prune back your problems, and what was our other analogy? Oh, the priest is here to listen to your poker confessions.
Hear your confessional, yes.
We want to hear your poker confessions. What are you doing wrong? What do you need some help with? You can email us or you can text. You can always do that, and we're here to hear your problems. We want to hear them, we want to read them, we want to share them with the universe.
We want to heal your gaping wound.
Yes. Allow us.
Our theme tonight, guys, has been... Oh, look, there's the information.
Yeah, text poker and your question to 84222. Or you can send us an email, and we would love to hear from you, because yes, our theme tonight is the poker surgery.
What are the holes in your game? What are you doing worse than you're doing everything else? What are you doing badly? What are the things that you're struggling to understand or get to grips with and need help with? And it's been fascinating, because people have been very forthcoming, which is great of you guys. It takes a lot to admit
it
you're
does.
doing something badly. And the other interesting thing has been that there's been common themes, that people are having problem with the same things.
Yep.
Things like changing gears, in the later stages of a tournament, and managing their emotional state in different times, that kind of thing.
I just folded the big blind when I could have checked. I
Did
don't
you?
know why I did that.
And also, I hadn't noticed, so you could have got away with it.
I know,
a
but
little
I'm
bit.
bringing it up because it was a bad thing to do. Bad thing to do, Kara. I probably did it automatically and just didn't look. I was probably chatting in the chat box, and Balrog, one of our regular players, was saying to me that it was bad, and he was chastising me for having chatted so much. He said, this time you're going to time out again like you always do by chatting too much. You're going to miss a hand. And he's right.
You know, Kara, focus.
I had the chaffinch.
If you're focusing on chatting.
I was a little. But only just for that little bit there.
Such a sinner.
I know. Oops.
If it comes any consolation to you, a couple of weeks ago I did cost myself several thousand tournament chips by pressing fold instead of call accidentally.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was bad.
That is bad.
It's the pitfalls of playing online. Some very, very good things about playing online. One of the bad things is occasionally you'll do something you would never have done live. You're never going to accidentally fold live, are you?
Yeah. Oops, I accidentally folded.
No, I accidentally gave you my cards. Okay, is she going to try another button steal?
Is
the
she?
Scot?
Is she? She's done it a few times already.
Surely she can't be this bold.
It is part of my game plan. However, I have done it a few times already. I'm going to try again.
Good for you.
Thanks. And again, can't quite count, can I?
Well,
it's not 3 times a big blind, but it's good enough.
It's
It'll
fine.
do.
Well, look, you've made Stantis fold a better hand than you.
Yeah.
What was the ace-4? Taking chips you've got no right to, Kara.
I am.
We like
I
it.
am. Ooh, get me. Part of my game plan, and it worked.
It worked.
Thank you. I will take those 330 chips.
You've built your chips back up from 1,500, and
and I'm gone.
and you're gone.
Huh. Wow, would you look at that? I'm
You
gone.
built your chips back up,
I did so well.
and then you lost.
Huh. That's a shame, really. I think we'll do an email while we try to sort that out, because no, I didn't lose there, and we will be coming back to it.
I did not lose there.
No.
And on top of everything,
not
I played
there.
brilliantly,
No.
and you didn't see.
Yeah, oh well. Right, here's one from Trev. Trev says, hi, Nick and Kara. By the way, Trev, my name's spelled with a K, not a C.
Oh, you
but
spelled the name wrong.
That's okay.
Oh, she's going to go off on one for an hour.
No, I'm not. He says, I'm enjoying the show as ever. I'm roughly a break-even player as my bankroll goes up and down, but hardly ever needs topping up. Oh, well done you. I play 10-man sit-and-goes for $5 or 6-man cash games, 10 cent, 20 cent. I know that I play too many hands, and I'm trying to reduce that number. The site I use shows I play about 31% of hands, reduced from about 38%. Well, at least you're going in the right direction. Clearly the two games are different, but if you assume I play both equally, and I do equally well in each, thus requiring me to play marginal hands to win the odd tourney, I wondered if you had an idea of what I should be trying to reduce this percentage number of hands to. Thanks for the help. Cheers. Well, first of all, what should Trev be playing? What percentage of hands do you think he should be playing? You look stunned.
Can I say I don't know to this email?
Really?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
For a 10-handed cash game, which
Yeah.
he's not playing in, for a 10-handed cash game, you want to play probably 15 to 20% of your hands, I guess.
Right.
I've never been asked 6-handed cash game.
The
Good
maths
question.
are
I mean, it's
insane.
a sliding scale.
Yeah, it must be, yeah.
So you could figure it, in a 2-handed game, heads up, you'd probably be looking to play 60 to 70% of your hands. So something in between 20 and 70%. I don't think you're too far off for a cash game. 30%? 6-handed? 30%, let's go with that. Because it's a sliding scale, but it's not a level line. It probably kind of, oh no, it would go up, wouldn't it? These are graphs, by the way. Apparently. It would go upwards, but it would probably go... it would probably go up like that as opposed to like that, because you don't want to loosen up too much.
Yeah.
I reckon 25 to 30% for a 6-handed cash game.
That sounds right.
10-man sit and goes. I'm not a sit and go stats man, I'm afraid. I would say in the 25 to 30% area as well. Actually, you're concurring.
I concur.
Well,
yeah.
if the ABC fundamental poker with slight trickiness would bring us out at 15 to 20%, in a sit and go it would obviously be more. What?
Nothing.
Get out. I reckon 30% is fine. And Trev, don't get too wrapped up in this, because it's not how many hands you play, it's which hands you're playing and how you play them that really will count. But as long as you're not massively over 30%, I don't think you've got too much of a problem. If you're playing 6-handed games, that's probably fine.
Yeah.
28-30.
Yeah, if you don't think you're playing, or if you think you're playing
27, 28-30.
31. 27. So if you think that you are playing hands that aren't good enough and you think your starting standards need a bit of work, well then tighten up a bit, see if it does actually affect your game, if it does actually affect if you're winning or not, or how much you're winning. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could literally tighten up for a certain period of time and see how that affects it. Yeah, you could try that. I don't think you're massively out of kilter.
Yeah.
I think the fact that he's not winning is likely, if he's already down to 31% of his hands, the fact that you're not winning or breaking even is probably more down to your play than it is to how many hands you're playing, I think. Although, again, the usual caveat applies. I haven't seen him play, so obviously I don't know, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think our Beat the Presenter game might be ready. Am I right? I think it is, so let's go take a look at it.
Back.
There we go.
I mean, they do know now that you don't win this, but they knew that anyway because they saw you cry.
Yeah. I am sorry about that, by the way. I'm a little emotional at the moment.
I thought it was very, very... Well, it's beautiful. It's like an expression of emotion, and it's been a beautiful night on Poker Night Live. We've shared a lot.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
We've shared a lot. I've had a lot of people...
There we go. That's me making my steal.
Making confessions and kissing my ring and really saying what their problems are, and that's been good. I've also weeded their gardens.
You were so helpful.
Thank you. And we've just gone back a little bit, but that's good because we get to see one of your moments of glory again. Little steal.
Thank goodness, that'll help.
Steal.
It helps wipe away the tears, doesn't it?
When we see the hand that caused that, are you going to go
try
again?
I don't know. I'm going to try not to. My eyes are a bit, a bit sensitive.
That's what they all say, isn't it? Oh, there's onions in there.
Yeah, there's got to be onions in that something that you ate. Ugh. But look at this, still a full table. Been playing for a little while here.
Yeah.
Give or take 5 minutes. No one's gone out yet.
Sure.
FC Paulie is very short stacked, and I was thinking, phew, someone's about to go out. That's good. Although, he's not.
No.
I kept hoping that he would. Nothing against you, Paulie, honestly. I just didn't want to be you know, at a full table.
Sure. Well, you could get into trouble here. Ace king in front of you.
Yep.
You've got ace 10.
I'm out.
Makes a raise. See,
Not a chance.
I don't want to compliment you too much because, you know.
Big head, can't get
Big
through
head.
doors.
But
Whoa.
it's hard to find a fault with you in terms of discipline or hand selection.
Thank you. That's
Well,
awfully nice. That's awfully nice.
Ace 10 suited is a pretty hand, and
Oof.
a lot of beginners would play it, but you don't have any trouble throwing it away to a raise. That's cool.
Nope. Down it goes, away it goes. Polly's all in again.
Yeah, and
He's been
doing,
getting the hands with it as well.
well, he's doing the right thing. You know, King Queen isn't a world beater, but he's in late position, and he knows he can't mess about. If he's going to play, he's got to go all in.
Yeah, he's got less than 5 times a big blind, so he has to go all in, doesn't he? So King Queen's not a bad hand to do that with. Ziddy's wondering.
Less than 4 times the big blind.
Yeah.
So yeah, he needs to do that, and more power to his elbow. He is coming back.
He's coming back indeed. Which is not so good for me, but you know, well done, Paulie. It was nice to see Zitty sitting at the table as well. He's one of our regulars, but I don't believe he's been on the Beat the Presenter before, and if he has, it's been maybe just once.
One of those rubbish shows that me or you aren't on. He's probably.
Oh yeah, one of those awful
one of
ones
those
that
rubbish ones,
we
yeah.
weren't, presenting. Yeah, that's unfair.
Is this?
They're all wonderful.
I?
Yes.
Great.
Charwell has King Queen now. It's moving its way around the table.
I mean, I know I've got a lot of hair, but is it like Claire Rayner's?
I don't really know who Claire Rayner is, I'm afraid. I'd have to look up a picture of Claire Rayner on the internet
she's
and then
a
let you
deeply
know.
ugly woman with a massive, ridiculous head of hair.
Really?
Oh, yes.
That's a bit ouch.
FC St Pauli making that move again, and I think he's right to. You know, he's still only got 4 or 5 times the big blind. And Famar calls him, and we're in a race, and Cara Scott will be rooting for... Well, that's a picture of a man, Cara. That can't be Claire Rayner.
That's not Claire Rayner.
Cara Scott's rooting for Famar here.
I was indeed.
50-50.
Go on, Famar.
Oh, the Queen hits. And we do not have our first...
Casualty. Nope, we don't indeed. No, you don't look like Claire Rayner at all.
It's he's talking about the hair, not... I mean, obviously, hopefully, not the face. And FC St Pauli's giving a good demonstration of what to do when you get short stacked in a tournament.
Yeah, and to
Don't
build it
wait
right
for
back up.
fantastic hands. Wait for good enough hands. Shove your chips in.
But he has been lucky not to have 2-7 offsuit and,
Oh, sure.
6-4 or something.
Yeah.
He's been quite lucky with that.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're right, it is, nothing to take away from that. It's great. And one of my problems is when I am short stacked, if I lose a big hand and I end up short stacked, I just go on tilt and I think, oh, well, fine, then I'll just push it in and see what happens. I can't be bothered to play now. It's going to be too much work. So that's a terrible attitude. So well done, Polly, for showing us all the right way.
There you go. Let's see, ours makes the raise. Great, Scott's got a bad ace. You won't be playing that.
Oh, no.
If I know my Scots.
Oh, if you know your Scots. That one is not one for me, I tell you.
Will Stanters play King Jack? He's played quite high up to now. No, he doesn't want to. Thanks for that.
My insightful
I mean, if you haven't got anything to say.
It was a very insightful
Do you like the little chairs?
I do. I think they're really sweet. Although they do look like they're made out of wood, which would be quite uncomfortable. I know they're supposed to be made out of leather, but that's just a personal
You're saying
opinion
they
there.
look woody?
They do. I can see wood grain and whatnot. Stanters is making a raise with his pair of twos.
Screen fill doesn't quite work. I was trying to do a joke there, didn't quite work. I've pulled out of it. Something about a screen full of wood and it's not EastEnders, but it doesn't quite. It's like wooden acting.
Yeah.
But it didn't work.
No, but thanks for explaining it anyways, Nick.
Yeah. The best jokes are the ones you have to explain.
Oh, yes. Definitely. You work for it, but you know what? It's better when you get there in the end.
Quite the comedian.
No.
Well, Aditi's done a reasonable amount of this limping malarkey.
He has done, hasn't he?
And Stanton's got an opportunity here because we were talking about this limp raise earlier. Ian cautioned us not to use it too often, but that was a chance to do it. Basically, because he's got the button and he had 4-5 suited, so he's got lots of ways to win. He's got 3 ways to win, actually. He can win it there and then if he raises, because he takes the blinds and the limp.
Oh, and he would have had 3 5s.
4-5 is the kind of... He had 4 5s, so he only have 2. But he'd actually have the best hand, wouldn't he?
He would do.
4-5 is the kind of hand where you could hit the flop and have the best hand.
Yeah.
Well, the third way to win is that he could bet again on the flop and take it away on the flop. So that's one of those opportunities we talk about in tournaments. You don't have to take them all, but you have to learn to start recognising them. When are we going to get our chips? That's the question.
Indeed.
Queen
Indeed
10.
It is. There we go.
Are you
Queen 10
slightly
suited.
tempted?
I am slightly tempted, but then I thought, oh, not really late enough position for people to act behind me. What if someone has actually got a hand
The
there?
other problem is that Charwell's in the big blind. Now, I don't think you should ever be afraid of players, and that's not what I'm saying.
Right.
And Stanters makes the steal.
Yeah, good for you, Stanters.
What I'm saying is that Charwell has successfully bluffed you, and very importantly, obviously this doesn't show on our screen here, but I was watching you play, and Charwell showed you that check raise bluff.
He did, yeah.
So it means he knows he's bluffed you once, so he may bluff you again, and for that reason, I would tend to stay away from him. Nothing's absolute. I would tend to stay away from him unless I had a hand I wouldn't want to steal from him. Now, you could argue he's got one over on you there, if that's your attitude. And I would say, yes, he has. But at the same time, I'm not doing I wouldn't avoid him because I'm scared of him. I would avoid him because he knows he's bluffed me once.
Right.
So he might try it again. So I'm not, I'm not worried about him. I'm not scared of him. I just know that he might try and re-steal from me. And if I don't have the cards, I don't want to put myself in a situation where it's going to happen. So I would be looking for someone else to nick chips off first.
I think that's a fair comment.
You have to, oftentimes you play a tournament, especially online, and you don't have a particular relationship with the players because the tables break or whatever, or in a one table it's too fast, or players aren't paying attention. But sometimes you'll be in a hand with somebody and it will create a relationship between the two of you. You'll have history, so to speak, and you must be aware of how the other player that's been in that hand perceives you.
Yeah. That's true, because it will colour how they then
of course it
act
does.
against you in the future.
It does.
Yeah, very good point. If, say, for example, Johan Herren was sat at this table, because I felt, and unjustly so, I did feel a bit bullied by him at the table last week. And that was pretty much just in my mind, and we saw that based on the actually being able to beat the presenter and see the cards that he had. He actually did have cards most of the time. He bluffed me maybe once.
Right.
So, even still, if he sat down, he would know that I'd felt bullied by him because he'd watched the show and he actually emailed in about it. And I would know that I'd felt bullied, and we would have some sort of relationship, and I wouldn't want to get into a pot against him because I think we both would have that kind of expectation. It just wouldn't be, I wouldn't be trying to steal chips from him, that's for sure. Queen Jack in the big blind.
Quite nice.
Pair of tens right behind me, though. Uh-oh. Betting it up.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were thinking this, Cara Scott. You can say you were after I said it.
Okay.
But Stanters has played very tight.
Yeah.
He hasn't played many hands at all. He's raised in first position.
Yeah. Actually, that is exactly what I thought. He raised in first position, and I thought, well, that's quite a strong move.
You're not very often going to play Queen Jack for a raise anyway, no matter who it is, but particularly him because he hasn't played very much.
Now we have a really interesting email from one of the players who was actually observing during this game. He was in the chat box, and that is Ramchip, one of our regulars, and he posts on the forum quite a bit as well. And it's quite a good one. I mean, I know this is an amateur night and a beginner night, so it might be a little bit deep. But being an amateur beginner myself, I quite like to actually dig deeper into things. So maybe, hopefully others out there will as well. Now, email from Ramchip. This says, can I say, first of all, he starts with something nice, just to make sure that we read this out, which I like. Can I say that by watching the footage of the Poker Night Live freeze-out over the last year and by listening to the comments of the presenters on the play in the freeze-outs, my game has improved tenfold. To date, this year...
Wait a minute, look at this.
Ooh! Look at me trying to steal them.
Well, the only criticism I'd make here is
what?
you should have gone all in.
Yeah, I saw that once I'd put the bet in, and I thought, oh, that's a bit rubbish, isn't it?
And you've been successful, and you've moved him off a better hand. Now, I am very proud of your play.
Thank you.
You've picked a great target. Stantis has been playing tight.
Yep.
And you're in the small blind, he's in the big blind. Very unlikely he's got a strong hand. Mm-hmm. And you've made the move, and that's great.
But I should have made that.
You should have moved all in because leaving some money behind looks a bit weak.
Yeah.
And also, if he comes over the top for you, you've got to call anyway.
Yeah.
You can't afford to fold
You're right.
for that amount of money. So you're playing for all your money anyway. So that's
might
just
as
a
well
small.
have been strong enough.
That's just a small point, but
Okay.
you know, well done. That's good. You wouldn't have
Thanks.
done that 3 or 4 months ago.
No, I certainly wouldn't have. I would have been far too nervous to do that. But I knew I needed the chips. I knew I needed to do something. I should have made a bigger
Absolutely.
move, and I'll bear that in mind.
And it's past you in the small blind. That is always an opportunity in a tournament. Now, again, guys, I'm not saying you always have to take the opportunity, but when it gets past you in a small blind, that is a chance to make chips because the big blind mostly won't have anything.
Yeah. Agreed. Now I have King Queen, and I'm thinking, I've just done this. I've just taken the blinds down.
No,
what do I
you should
do?
raise here.
And I did.
Come on, the Scots.
I went 2 times the big blind.
Yeah. And you were
Heart in my
successful.
throat.
Look at
And
that.
there we go. I'm back up above 2,000 chips. Thank you very much. I felt quite good about that.
This is
Very exciting.
by far and away the best tournament you've played that I've
Thank
watched.
you. Thank you.
I would say, and I hope everybody watching agrees. This is, you know,
I'm getting there, you know.
so
I'm
far
getting the principles.
you totally are. So far, you haven't done much wrong. You've given yourself a chance to make chips. All of those chips that you've made, you're down to 1,500. The chips that you've made off your own back. You haven't made by getting dealt good hands.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Thank you.
Don't mess it up.
Oh, I'll try not to,
Yeah.
retrospectively.
Yeah.
Okay, back to this Ramchip email. He
Yeah.
says, and this is quite exciting, he says that he's been learning a lot from Poker Night Live and then backs it up with some figures that are, I think, staggering. He says, to date this year, I've won over $27,000.
Come on, where are we going, Ramchip?
That's incredible.
Well, let's break this down, Rammers.
Break it down.
Rammers, as I like to call him. You're saying that by watching and listening to this show, you've made $27,000. Now, we're not even asking for half.
No.
15% as a commission seems more than... As soon as you say it's all down to us, it seems more true he's done the legwork. Kara and I, to go out for an evening, how much do we need? 2 or 3 grand, tops. If we're going to have one of our cheap nights.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, Ramchip, that's fair, isn't it? FC St Pauli's got the 8s, Stanton's got the 10s. This one's going to play itself, and Stanton is going to be something like a 4-1 favourite to win this pot when the rest of the money goes in a sec.
There we go. And an 8 comes down on the flop, and everyone
not
just kind of went,
pleasant.
ooh, ouch.
Ooh, ouch is right.
As soon as that happened, we just thought, wow, that's... we really thought we were losing a player there from the table. The blinds are getting high, and yet we are still...
Still fully stacked.
Yeah, we are still fully, tabled up here. And now I have jacks
Nice.
in the big blinds.
Nice to have them in a big blind.
Yeah, because it's kind of under the radar there.
What you're looking for is somebody to raise with a worse hand, like
Yeah.
Ace-Jack is a nice hand because you obviously got one of his cards.
Yep.
He's got 3 aces to hit. He's also got some flush draws. You're probably about a 3-1. I'm not sure. I'm
Yeah.
not very good on getting these exactly right, but you're about a 3-1 favourite.
Yeah. Now, we are quite high. The blinds are quite high. He had 5 times a big blind-ish. There we go. thereabouts, and
You're going to call though.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to call this.
This
He's got
just plays,
5 big blinds.
This plays itself. City's got
He's
to...
late position.
He's got to play that
Yeah.
at this stage of the tournament.
Yeah,
Oh, that's horrible.
yeah.
That's what made you cry.
That did make me cry.
Oh. Poor Carrie. Still not happy about it, are you?
No.
No.
It hurt so much. It really did. But you know what? That's the way poker goes, and I'm not bitter. And
That is the way poker goes.
no,
and
it is. It's entirely the way poker goes. And did I play it right? Should I not have called there?
that rhetorical question. If you don't call there, you're never going to make money from poker.
Really? So
Well,
that was all right. You know, because I don't mind if I play well and
it's not
lose.
only all right. It's the only.
Okay.
If you'd folded your jacks there, I would have
Really?
kicked you in that. I wouldn't.
No.
Yeah,
okay,
jacks
then,
is a
that's
great
fine.
hand, and it's getting late in the tournament.
Ouch.
Zitty could have anything.
I
He
could
could
have
just be
doubled up
stealing.
there. Yeah, I could have entirely doubled
Most
up
of the
there.
time she would have doubled up, and you'd now be with a great shout. As it is, Zitty's in a great shout. But this is the thing, you see. You get to when you play these one-table tournaments. If the blinds get big, and there's players in, you'll get into a situation where the money goes in pre-flop, and he's been unlucky.
Yeah, I've been unlucky. There we go.
That he's got an ace.
Yep. I thought my ace would be all right. It wasn't, and I'm out of the tournament. That's me. Bye-bye.
Well,
Bye-bye.
obviously your key hand was the jacks. The hand played itself,
Ugh.
and you got unlucky. But this is the thing, this is what I'm saying about tournament poker, is when the money goes in before the flop, the other guy, who's not favourite, always has a decent chance. I mean, there, I think, I'll check, but top of my head, I think Zitty's got about a 25% chance.
Yeah.
So 1 in every 4 he's going to win,
Yeah.
unfortunately, for you
Oh,
on that
wow.
occasion. But seriously, well played. That's the best you've played on TV.
You know what? That's all I care about. It's
Good.
not my money. I don't mind.
That's the spirit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Zitty, you should feel bad.
But if it was-
the children
if it-
will not be getting that money. The charity.
The homeless
sorry.
children.
Yeah, they won't be getting that then.
But if it was your money, you shouldn't feel any different.
True.
Because as we've said from day one on this show, it's not about whether you win or lose a specific hand, tournament or session.
Yeah.
It's about how you play.
Yes.
If you played well, you've played worse than one, be the presenter.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
tell you that
true.
right now.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So, you know, these things break even.
if I'm
in the end.
playing solidly, then I'm happy.
And the exciting thing is you're improving.
I agree.
That's the
I'm
exciting
not.
thing.
You know what? I'm not upset about that. It kind of came as a shock because I thought, ouch, oh, that really hurt. And then the tears came and it all got a bit messy. But but as long as I played it well, I don't mind. And look, now we've lost stanters as well. As soon as I go, the table loosens up. Oh.
Nothing to do with that, is it? The blinds are now
No, you're right.
dictating the action.
Okay, fine, you're right. It's nothing to do with that, but still. Zitty did email in and he said, Zitty here. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Will you ever forgive me? Yes, Zitty, of course I do. I entirely forgive you. Absolutely. Entirely.
No, we didn't do Ramchip's email.
No,
did
we didn't.
We
We
got
didn't-
as far as Ramchip. We got as far as how much you were going to cut me and Kara in for.
And then we got
So
sidetracked
we're waiting
by
for a response
that.
on that.
Right.
The rest of the email
Here we go.
was.
And he does say, without watching the show, my winnings would have been a fraction of what I have
Well,
won.
I think
there we go again.
that's admissible in small
yeah.
claims court, isn't it?
Yeah, watch what you say, Ramchip. Speaking to other players, such as Taff Store, who used to play the Poker Night Live cash tables in the early days of Poker Night Live, they also used the Poker Night Live TV tables to develop their game. Taff Store has now been signed by a site, and he puts this down to Poker Night Live. Well,
Nothing
well done to
from
him
him
as well.
either.
I know, shocking, isn't it? Shocking.
No.
Not even a Christmas card. Oh, honestly. Playing freeze-out MTTs, either live or online, I believe, is the hardest form of poker and requires the greatest skill. Some believe that there is no difference between a freeze-out and a rebuy, as you can simply just buy in once. What are your thoughts on this, as I disagree? Of course, sometimes you'll get lucky early on and build a big stack, but poker is a long-term game. Adopting a no-rebuy approach long-term will reduce your rate of income in a rebuy game. I believe that by watching good players play a freeze-out, you can learn far more than reading any book. So, Nick, do you think you need more skin to win a rebuy or a freeze-out? Thanks, Nick. You know we all love you. And that's from Ramchip.
Did he say that last bit? Was that you?
Well, no, that was him, but he probably didn't say it in that voice. He probably was a bit more butch about
Thank
it.
you, Ramchip. I'm going to call you Rammers because that amuses me, and I'm a child. They're
Lost
falling like
another player, by
flies,
the way,
aren't they,
there.
now
Yeah.
on the table? Sorry, guys, we're really tight on time, so we're doing emails at the same time, and you can enjoy the tournament in the background. Because we're not going to get through all the emails
I
tonight.
know, and I am sorry. It's not that now that I'm out, we're not interested. No, not at all. And no,
Well, it
that's
is
serious.
from your point of view.
Well, it is kind of from my point of view. No, but we do want to get through all these emails. We did request them, and we don't want to disappoint.
Well, a lot to unpack there, Ramchip. I think that you probably can learn a lot from watching people play a freeze out. Whether you can learn more than from a book, I don't know. I think a lot of that depends on your learning style. Different people learn different ways. As I said earlier in the show, I would advocate doing everything. I don't really understand these arguments about whether you should learn from books or whether you should learn from experience, whether you should watch people, whether you should get a teacher, or etc., etc. Why don't you do everything? You know, why would you exclude a way of learning? Ramsey, I'm not saying you're saying this, by the way. I'm just saying, in general, do everything. But yeah, definitely, watching good players play, you can learn a huge amount. And, you know, we've seen, without, you know, we would big up this show, we're on it, but I think I can say without fear of contradiction, if you watch this show, if you watch how players play, your poker will improve incredibly quickly. I can say without any fear of contradiction that if I had been able to see players play...
Ooh. Sorry, Charwell's gone all in.
You don't like that call?
I don't know.
Oh, split pot.
All right.
Look at that. Well, Zitty can afford to make that call. If he knocks Charwell out, that's the bubble burst and he's in the money. And there's a decent possibility he's got the best hand with King-9 there because Charles moved all in from the small blind. So I think that's a good call.
Okay.
I think. Tough to say, but I think it's a good call. As to how you learn, watching the show, I think is great, and thank you for the compliments inferred in that. Where's the skill between freeze out and rebuy tournaments? Well, it's a vexed question, really. I mean, I think freeze out tournaments probably are the hardest form to play well because you are in jeopardy from go one. Having said that, doing well in rebuy tournaments is a skill. It's just a different skill. And I know that people can get lucky in rebuy tournaments because they can rebuy more, but then good players still come out on top in rebuy tournaments. The rebuy tournaments do become a freeze out when the rebuy is over. So yeah, I'll go along with your point. I think freeze outs probably is more skill in freeze outs, but that doesn't mean rebuys are without skill. It's not a black and white kind of a deal. It is a grey area.
Yeah.
And I speak as somebody who has, you know, we're talking about what do we do less well. Rebuy tournaments is something that I do less well in. I've never done as well in rebuys as I have in freeze outs because I've never been successful at completely adapting the way I play to a rebuy tournament. So I should really be jumping on your bandwagon that freeze outs are more skillful. But I think it's Ramchip, I honestly think it's at the margins. So I think rebuy periods are just a different form of skill, and that in the long run, it may be, and I don't know this for certain, it may be easier for less skilled players to win a rebuy tournament because they can get lucky in the rebuy period and build up a stack of chips. But I don't think that helps them in the long run. Because the good players still have an edge in the rebuy period.
Yeah.
And in fact, if people are rebuying a lot and playing bad cards, the good player's edge, you could argue, actually gets bigger.
Right. Because they're gaining more chips, there's more potential.
There's more dead money because people are buying in, and there's people playing worse cards potentially.
Yeah.
So don't write them off, and don't write them off as a source of income either. It will involve adapting your game, but don't write them off as a source of income. I have to admit, I have for me, and James has lectured me about that, and he's quite right too. And I intend to do some work on playing rebuy periods myself. But heck, if you're making that kind of money, Ramchip, playing freeze outs, why are we even having this conversation?
No kidding, huh?
Just stick with your freeze outs and, you know.
Stick with what you're good at. Why not?
Absolutely. And where's our cut?
Right, a text from Gary, very quick here. I find it hard to fold aces on the flop or later, even when I think I'm beat. Should I trust my instincts? Any advice would help.
Always trust your instincts. I was reading No Limit Super System, as I said earlier in the night. And it's something that Doyle Brunson says. He says, the vast majority of times at the poker table, your first instinct is the right one.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is your first instinct is your subconscious telling you, based on the hours of experience you've got playing, what the answer is.
It's worth listening
What people
to.
call gut instinct is just our
experience.
It's our being's ability to protect itself, feeding straight to our brain, hardwired into our brain, and it's using all of the information it has in that moment, as well as all of the information it has in all of its experience. So usually your first instinct is right. So yes, go with your instinct. And as far as folding aces, Charwell's all in here. This bubble's gone for a while. Interesting one.
It has done.
As far as folding aces goes, you need to be able to put aces down after the flop sometimes.
Yeah.
Remember, they're only one pair.
Yeah.
They are the best hand before the flop. Ooh, and he makes that call.
Ouch. Oh, 2 pair. He was beaten by 6-4 offsuit.
Kara's offended.
Mortally offended. Charwell, you had king queen.
You're such a hand snob, Kara. No, it's not a bad thing. You like good hands, you don't like bad hands.
That was a really lucky hand, yeah.
Kind of, sort of pushed into that call by the size of the blinds.
Yeah.
They're so big now, and it worked out for him.
That's
Good
fair
luck to him.
enough. That's fair enough.
Folding aces on the flop lots of other factors to consider, just to wrap this one up quickly. One of the key things is the texture of the flop. If the flop is something like king 2-4, as we see the critical hand of this tournament potentially for these two, and the 8s are beaten by Zitty's ace-jack. Well done, Zitty. King Jack 2 is a good flop for aces. King Queen Jack with 2 hearts on board is not a good flop for aces. That's a really quick way of saying, because I'm conscious we're running out of time, but the flop is very important.
Yeah.
And of course, how much action you get from other players. But yeah, trust your instincts and don't be afraid to let go of aces if you think they're beat.
Yeah, you got to be able to lay them down. You have to. Absolutely. Our last email was from Kyle, and Kyle very nicely commented on some of the comments that Roy the Boy made on his phone in. I hope you guys enjoyed the phone in tonight. It was nice to have Roy the Boy on. It's always good to have an English voice in poker. And he says he agrees about the need to change the structure for televised tournaments. He says, would it not be possible for a group of top poker players to set up an association and find someone to back them financially? Oh, that's easy. Like a sponsor to help set up these tournaments in a better way for the upper grade poker players. And secondly, how do people class who's a professional poker player? As I'd personally class someone like Phil Ivey as professional. However, as we've seen in recent years at the WSOP main event, any average Joe with a little bit of luck can win. Well, a little more than a little bit of luck.
I disagree with characterising the people that won the WSOP as average Joes.
Yeah.
That's nonsense, I'm afraid. No disrespect, Kyle, but you have to understand Chris Moneymaker, Greg Raymer, Joe Hatcham are all good tournament players. They're not average Joes, and they've proved that before and since.
Ooh, here we
the
go.
cards have fallen FC St Pauli's way in this tournament, haven't they?
Oh, they have done. 240
Although I
tips
don't disagree with this main point.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible in poker, and always has been, to say who's an amateur and who's a professional.
Yeah. Well, there you go. FC St. Pauli against Ziddy Ars. Ziddy, you came second. Thank you very much for playing. FC St. Pauli, you came first. Well done, guys.
Zitty got a bit of bad karma at the end there for busting you, or almost busting you.
Nearly busting me. He mortally wounded me, so there you go. But I don't hold it against you. I really don't. It's poker. It's a game. It's all about
fun. She's made a little doll of you, Zitty. It's under the
poking
desk.
It with pins. Yeah, poking it with
nice.
pins. No, I don't mind. And thanks very much for the comments and advice on that. And thank you everyone else out there for letting us know what your issues with poker are, where your problems and your blind spots, the things that you need to know to move forward. Because that's been great, hasn't it?
It has been really good. Thank you guys. Great response tonight. And I think, as well as some childishness,
as always,
some quite frightening emotion from you
Sorry.
at one point, I think we've done a lot of good hardcore learning.
I feel very good about that. The superheroes, Mr. and Mrs. Poker, can leave the city safer
Mr.
for
and Mrs.
poker
the
players
Mr. and Mrs.
everywhere.
And we're back on Friday, aren't we? Not this Friday,
next Friday. And tomorrow night is Cass and TK, so don't miss that because it's going to be fabulous. But until
not as
then,
good as this, but fine.
have a good night's sleep, and we'll see you for more poker tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
Take lots of care. See you later.